We're on. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our special meeting of council. So we've convened this meeting primarily in order to go through our grant applications for this year. We have a couple of other items that are on the agenda as well. Before we begin, I'm just going to quickly go through a roll call. When I say the number of your district, if you could reply with your name, that would be great. District 1.
Bruce Proud.
District 2.
McDonald.
District 3.
Wayne Power.
District 4.
McNeil.
District 5.
Gregory Hemming.
District 6.
Mike Morrison.
District 7 is myself, Timothy Abinsky. District 8.
Michael Gunn.
District 9.
Wendy Sheridan.
District 10.
Martha Roberts.
And District 11.
Diane LeBlanc.
Thank you very much, folks. Before we go on to the approval of our agenda, I'd like to ask our deputy warden if she wants to say a couple of words about the efforts for volunteers over the last few days.
Yeah, I would like to send a big thank you out to all of our volunteer fire departments. They've been very busy and going above and beyond, and my heart goes out to them. And I imagine they're getting very tired, and they are an essential service to our county of keeping our residents safe.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. We certainly
I'd like to
all
echo
appreciate
that.
the work and the efforts of our volunteer fire departments.
I'd like to echo that thought too, I'll tell you.
Thank you, Councillor Gunn. All right. So you have the agenda before you. There is one further item that I've had several councillors contact me asking if it could be placed on the agenda as well, just in the last day. And that is just a quick discussion on what criteria we would apply to the reopening of our public transit, our King's Transit buses. So perhaps we'll put that at the end, just before we go into our in-camera session.
Perfect.
All right. Next, business arising from the minutes. So first of all, we have our
Carolyn wants to.
Carolyn.
Can
Yes?
you just ask for a motion to?
Oh, yes. Could I have a motion?
As amended.
Could I have a motion? Thank you. Moved by Councillor LeBlanc to add King's Transit to the agenda. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. All right, we'll go on to our COVID-19 property tax financing program policy. This was referred to staff for their consideration for recommendations at the last meeting. And you have, of course, the policy in our packages at this point. I wonder if Don, if you'd be able to speak to some of the thinking that's gone into the development of the policy and any changes that have come up since our last meeting.
Sure. The only changes from the copy that was circulated at the last meeting was to make the application form agree to minor changes that had taken place in the policy proper prior to circulation last time. Holly's been working through having the AMANS portal used for receiving applications as well as being able to accept paper copies. And there was a degree of having to make those synchronize and making sure what was going to be on the portal is also what's in our policy. So that's where we are.
Excellent. All right. Do any councillors have any questions about this? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, and thank you for the amended draft. Will there be something on the web page that explains this policy in less than 6 or 7 pages?
John?
Would you like me? So Holly provided to David and I yesterday a promotional piece that is being used by all the participating municipalities. David has that prepared, and I believe it's going up today as soon as I post the approved policy. As well, there'll be the paper application form and a template affidavit form that will be provided there. I expect that's the type of information you were asking about.
Councillor Morrison?
Yes, thank you. And could we be sent a copy of all that so we can send it out to our own email lists, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Further questions or observations from other councillors on the policy itself, or on how its implementation is going to work? If there's none, Councillor LeBlanc. Thank you.
Well, I guess basically it's going to be done in-house. We only have to provide the information to our constituents. If they have any questions, it would be, who do we refer to?
John?
Do we refer to?
So Amanda has been reassigned temporarily to be the primary person dealing with the paperwork. So perhaps when one of us circulates the information requested by Councillor Morrison, we could also provide you a short list of who the contact people should be.
That would be great.
That would be
Thank
great.
you very much.
Excellent, thank you.
If I may add to that,
Yes, go ahead, John.
one of the questions coming up as we, I guess, unfold this deferral program is some people are asking, how do we demonstrate that we're in need of the support? And in some instances, it's believed that some people will be hesitant, especially companies will be hesitant to provide certain information. So anybody applying has to have an affidavit stating what their need is to be exact, and that has to be witnessed by a commissioner of oath or notary public. And basically, the person is basically stating under oath that the information they're submitting is true, and that has to be a part of the process. So councillors can sign as a witness for the tax exempt. I believe you would also be able to sign for this as well. The big piece with this, though, is that you really need to respect all the rules of social distancing. And so if the councillors are going to get involved in that, we should work on how that should occur, what should be followed in these circumstances if you end up signing for somebody. And I think it's something that we should consider carefully to assist with having those affidavits witnessed.
Okay, Councillor LeBlanc?
Well, I guess that was what I was going to ask, the affidavit being signed. I mean, yes, we have the authority, but how do we actually do that? And we would have to see how many different pieces of information to be able to sign off on it.
Well, it's going to be just a simple affidavit. It'd be probably just a one-page document. But what you're doing is you're asking that person to state under oath that what they've submitted is true. That's what you're witnessing them stating it is true.
So that's the only.
It's not up to you to prove their documents to be true.
Okay.
They have to state it's true under oath and then
So it's
sign as a
same,
witness. Yeah.
the same thing, John, as we do for
Yeah.
exemption.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
we
correct.
sign it, but they're saying that what they've stated is true. And
Yeah.
that's all we're signing. That's all we're looking at, really.
Really, in a lot of cases, in order to move this through, that may be the case. In some instances, people will share their T4s or will share their notices of being laid off or something of that nature. They will have something. But in a lot of cases, some people have received federal support. We're not sure to what extent, and that's been able to help families meet some of their obligations. So I think a lot of people will know that this is a loan. It's not a gift. It's a very low interest rate, and it's the best that the province and the municipalities can do in this circumstance. And so it's really it's giving them some breathing room, but it's not eliminating what has to be paid.
And they would not be able to get a loan at that rate anywhere else anyway, would they?
No, it's
Exactly. Yeah.
1.35% is very low.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, John.
All right, Deputy Warden?
That was my question. It was answered. Thank
Oh,
you.
perfect. Councillor Sheridan?
So regarding the percentage of loss for businesses, did we calculate how much we were going to use for the loss in business to revenue in order for them to apply?
Well, we forecasted it on a survey to AMA probably a little over a month ago. Holly and I worked on it, and we calculated basically just forecasting what we think a worst case scenario would be, and it was roughly 30% of our operations. But I believe, to put this in perspective, it all depends. If you're looking at the commercial sector compared to the residential, we have a lot more residential than we have commercial. I think our commercial revenue is about 1.9 million total. Okay.
I was referring to the applicant, like a
That's
commercial applicant. Like, how much loss do they have to have before they can apply is to meet their qualifications? Is that
I'd
30%
have
as
to,
well?
I'd have to go through the specifics of the policy for what we would request, and then they would have to put an affidavit in. Like, for example, you could have somebody that owns an apartment building and no one is able to pay their rent.
Right.
So that's affecting the commercial property owner. And I think if you can get letters from your tenants or anything like that to support that in communicating there's a need, it all helps. And we're not going to try to be difficult with this, but we want to make sure that it's not abused either.
Right.
Because people will go after low interest rate money if they can as well. So, but this is really a specific need for people and businesses that are in need.
John, I've got a quick question, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
on the same thing, and that is, how does this play up against the policy that the federal government just announced yesterday, that they're rolling out a rent assistance program that provides loans to landlords, who are having difficulty collecting rent from their tenants? So I think that it's
Well, that's a part of the process. If they've qualified for that and they've received funding, there's some other funding that I think some have been working on. And if they've received funding in that particular area, it's meant to help in that area. And so we would suggest the number one position that all the municipalities are taking is if you can pay your taxes, pay them. Okay, that's the first step. If you can't or you're struggling, what is it and what can we do to help? We can help, but we can't eliminate their obligation to pay it. We can only extend a loan for 2.5 years at a very low interest rate to help them. They're still obligated for their next year's taxes. So it's simply to help the people that don't have the breathing room right now.
I'm just wondering, the federal program, the applications are happening within today, tomorrow, and the next day. The applications are going very rapidly. Those applications, the federal government's, I think, going to be providing landlords with 75% of any lost rent.
Right, and our applications have a timeline as well.
They're eligible.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so
Will that affect their? But would somebody's successful application to that have an impact on whether or not they retain eligibility for ours? Because that program should really fill the hole of missing rent for a lot of landlords. So would they still be eligible for both?
Well, if they get money and they're able to pay their taxes, no, they may still be hurting and they may still need some. They may have to demonstrate that. But at the end of the day, in some cases, it'll be a case-by-case analysis. Because right now, we'd want to know if they received other funding, if they have an application in. That would be a part of our questions. And we would develop that as we go along here. Remember, this is unfolded fairly quickly, and there's going to be lots of questions and a lot of unknowns that'll pop up. So we're going to deal with it on a case-by-case basis. If somebody's applied, but they haven't been confirmed, we'll keep their file active. And if they don't get the funding, then they can proceed with our assistance. If they do get the funding, then they don't need our assistance, and we'll work it out with them as we go along. They can pay it off early too. So if they borrow and they get assistance, then they can pay it off early and forego the 2.5 years. So there's a variety of ways we can work it. And frankly, we're not sure what we're going to get.
It's really interesting. It's very interesting that one of the things that you wind up having to struggle with is how many instruments are becoming available to help businesses and help individuals, and how they play up against each other. Because there's so many different instruments have been developed by the federal government, and some by the province, and some by municipalities. But I think we're really the only level of government that is small enough that we can do that case-by-case process. So we've got it a bit easier for that. We can use discretion in a fashion the federal government I don't really think could.
Well, but keep in mind, really, we're from stem to stern in full operations in the summertime, we're at about 60 staff total. And most of those staff are dedicated to certain activities. This is a completely new line of work. So we're bringing people from other sectors in our operations and putting them in finance to assist with this process, because we're a bit concerned about the volume that we may receive. We're going to handle it, and we're going to have to handle it, but it could be a number of applicants. We're just not sure.
Further questions about Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. Sure, I'm muted. So they have to follow, in order to get the help on their taxes, just correct me if I'm wrong, they have to follow the rules that are set out in the policy we're just adopting, right? And we read through that, and they're pretty good rules in there, you know, that it kind of crosses a lot of things out if you're getting funding from here and another place. You're not. And that's the other thing. I'm understanding with this fund, these funds that, you know, the government's putting out every day, it seems to be a race. If you're getting support from one place, can you still get support from another? Because now I got to tell you a story. I've had a fella come to me this spring and just recently, and he's never had it before. This has been the easiest spring he's ever had to be in business because the government is keeping him completely subsidized. His bills are all paid up. He's way ahead. He's here. He's there. You know, he's set. So I do wonder at what point, you know, all of this will catch up. Anyway, that's all I got to say. So they've got to. My question really was, they got to follow what's prescribed in the policy that we're leading.
Thank you, Councillor John.
Has anybody, David, did you hear me, John? Because I'm not getting a response there.
Sorry, yeah, I was nodding my head. I apologize. I didn't know. Look, I think you're right. The policy has to be followed first. There's always going to be some anomalies as it relates to your policy. And that's really what we won't know what we'll run into. Our goal is we want to make sure that people are able to meet their obligations. And if they can't, then we have a deferral amount of money that can be lent to them. They have to pay it back to help them pay their taxes. And so we want to be helpful in that regard. We don't want to defer it needlessly, but if there's a need and we can analyze it properly, we're going to help with that.
Very good.
Don, I think you were wanting to contribute. Thank you.
I think John basically said what I was going to say. There's been discussion, I know, at other municipalities along this line. And one of my counterparts said yesterday, oh, councillors have gotten a bit into the weeds on this. There's confusion. It's really not a matter of who's eligible because they're in receipt of other things. It's a matter of giving people breathing space to pay taxes at a lesser amount of interest. People who are able to pay their taxes probably aren't going to go to the work of filling out the paperwork for this. They're just going to continue to pay their taxes. It's the people that need the extra breathing room and need to be facilitated. This isn't forgiving their taxes in any way.
That's true. Thank you. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. This is suddenly, in my mind, ballooned. So my first question is, how do we inform the citizens? I know we'll put it on the webpage. A lot of people don't use the county webpage as a pull. We'll send it to our own email lists, but they don't cover everybody. So the first question I have is, are we going to send around a mailing to let people know?
There is discussion of talking about putting this in our newsletter that goes out that's being prepared. And we may put something there just to spark their interest, maybe get them to refer to another site, refer them to AMA as well, because they've got a site. The province has been putting this out. The media has covered this across Nova Scotia for a lot of municipalities. Whether or not citizens understand what the program is that's always not known because we haven't gotten any feedback from citizens on it. I think as it goes along, there's no deadline to apply. So you can apply, I think within the entire year. And so as this unfolds, people will become more aware of it. It'll slowly gather some understanding in the community as it rolls out. So anything that we can do. So your suggestion of emailing you and that's really the best way. Not everybody is paying attention to what this municipality is doing during COVID-19. They're interested in other stuff. It's hard to get their attention on some matters for all people. And it's not their fault, but that's just the type of environment that we're in. And so I think every effort to get out will occur over the next few months.
Thank you. And next, we as councillors are now being interjected into this process. I'm not sure. Sorry. Go ahead. So people have to, first of all, learn about it. Second, then they have to be told to go to their counselor to get it witnessed.
Well, we're talking about it today. That's a choice of the counselors. You have that ability as a counselor elected in Annapolis County to sign as a commissioner of oath on those documents to witness somebody stating their documents true. The issue is we're in COVID-19. And so we have to have I think a policy or at least a procedure in place that counselors would have to follow. Like, for example, you could not share pens. You'd have to wear a mask. You would have to, wash your hands before and after. Same with the person handing you the documents. The documents should be put in an envelope and set aside and wash your hands. And that document should sit there for a couple of days before it's dealt with. Just stuff like, I think that would prevent any spread of any virus. If in fact there is a virus out there at the time this occurs, I think we have to be very careful. And that's up to each individual. It's not something you can force on a counselor to go and sign as an affidavit. But it is something that it's a discretionary decision that counselors would have. Should be policy.
So is
Laura
all the
McNeil has lost connection, just letting you know.
So is all the information you just gave us, John, that's going to be in a communication to citizens? The process for pens and envelopes and waiting 24 hours, all of that?
We haven't laid out the protocol for that as of yet. No, we haven't had a chance. We haven't communicated other than the discussion today in open here that counselors can sign. I think we would, with your blessing, we would share that. But we would also say before that happens, there would have to be some sort of COVID-19 protocol in place to make sure that we're being as safe as we should be.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Gunn?
Yes, thank you. Have we heard from the provincial government of any sort when they're going to end this?
They've extended it, I think they've extended to June 1st. But
Which is
they've always, usually
weekend.
the second or the last day before the state of an emergency is considered for an extension, they usually let us know. Right now, they haven't indicated that they're going to be ending the state of an emergency. We'll know whether or not they extend it, but they haven't stated it as of yet. And so when June 1st rolls upon, we may very well remain in the state of an emergency. If not, then we're going to be asked to, or it'll be suggested to us strongly that we have a plan on how we would start to go back to work. And I don't think we can just go right back to it. We have to analyze a lot of different things in our workplaces and distancing and safety if the public comes in and all that stuff. And we would have to work on a plan, which we're spitballing right now between the executive and myself on areas that we think should be, a concern and how we would handle it. So, but we haven't finalized that plan yet. We have an idea of what we need to consider.
Right. All right, folks. Do we?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Have they been regularly, because they got to declare that state every 2 weeks, right?
Yes,
Emergency Measures Act. They got to declare that state of emergency every 2
that's
weeks.
right. Yeah, it has to be renewed.
Okay.
Councillor Proud?
I'm curious, just to follow up a bit on Alex's comments. We had a list, and it was alluded to a few minutes ago, I forget by whom. We had a list of folks who would qualify for tax exemptions. Did I hear someone say we might be able to, in each district, get a list of people who may really be looking to apply for this COVID-19 policy? Or did I dream that?
My suspicion is the answer to that's no. I'm not sure how the municipality could identify those individuals.
Just thought it would,
Because I think there'll be
some
people
who-
from quite a wide variety of capacities will all actually could be in need. It might not necessarily be the same group of people who would normally apply for tax relief.
no. But no, I just was curious if there might be a possibility. People who will be contacting us and you want to say, well, okay, these are the forms you need. Come and see when it's done, if it's still in effect and stuff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back, Councillor McNeil. All right, if there's
Thank
no,
you.
Councillor LeBlanc.
Well, I was wondering, now that we've brought up the tax exemption forms, when we, the county, provide an exemption to the residents, can they apply for this as well?
John?
If they're a property owner and they have a property taxes and they're having difficulty meeting that, then they can certainly submit an application.
Okay, so even though the county already subsidizes with the tax exemption, they can still,
Yeah, this deferral is not a grant. It is a loan.
yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Further questions or thoughts? Carolyn, do you have a prepared motion for us?
One,
Yeah, there's one in the package.
Yeah,
Deputy
there we go.
Warden's got it.
Thank you. Deputy Warden?
in accordance with 7-day notice given on May 19th, 2020, I move that municipal council approve the new AM-6.2.1 COVID-19 property tax financing program policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's go on now to the grants section of our meeting today. And I'm going to ask if Nancy, if you'd like to take the reins.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Nancy.
We have a lot of grant applications, which was great again. And I started in the works, and I'll just present those to you after, if there's any funds remaining at your next available council session, if you guys have time. So they're still coming in, trickling in over the last couple weeks. So the first policy that we normally deal with is your annual community contributions. I know most of you are familiar with the session we normally do, and I give you a brief overview of the policies. Carolyn did provide that to you. Would you like me to review the community contributions policy for you briefly before we move on?
I'll ask that you do, Nancy, particularly because we have a new councillor with us today.
Okay, so the particular policy that we'll start with is policy 1.4.11. It's called the community contributions policy. So each year there is a list in that policy. Don't mind my pen scratches, but that's what it looks like. All the groups listed in this policy are assigned a pre-amount that municipal council will approve each year, depending on your budget. And they have to submit an annual report to council. They also have to submit annual financial statements, and they also have to be in good standing as a not-for-profit or charitable organizations. So if each of these groups meet those three criteria, you normally will approve a motion for each group to receive the amounts listed in the policy. The cheat sheet that I provided you will actually give you a summary of where the groups are at. So some motions may have to read pending policy requirements. And I did. Does everybody have that cheat sheet?
Yes.
Good question.
Which page is it on, Nancy?
I'm not sure because I have my Excel spreadsheet open. Carolyn, do you know which page
I
the
think it
cheat
was.
sheets aren't on a page. I believe she sent them in a separate
Oh,
email.
that's right.
Yes.
Yes.
And it would have been titled Summary Sheet for Council.
Yep.
And it will have AM 1.4.11 community contributions at the top of the file.
Correct.
Most of these groups actually present to you guys in February. Some of them do not, but most of them do. So a lot of the annual reports you guys would have already seen at the agenda package in February council.
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions?
Questions on the policy, folks? If there's none, then you can go right ahead, Nancy.
I have a quickie,
Oh,
Mr. Warden.
Councillor McDonald, go right ahead.
So we have the amounts listed there, and I see them. Are we flexible on those amounts, or do we adjust those amounts only as per application? Because these don't necessarily have to apply every year, do they?
No, they do not require a grant application for this policy. So all they have to do is meet the policy requirements, which is an annual report the submission of financial statements by July 5th every year, and to maintain their standing as a not-for-profit or community organization. If council wished to change the amounts in the policy, that would be a policy change, and it would have to go through your normal procedures to change a policy.
Right. And I have another question. It's the third one down, Barristers Association, Levitt Library, not required, not required. Will that never be required again, or?
This is an issue that's come up each year. I remember my very first year on council 8 years ago saying, why on earth are we providing this particular grant? And
Yeah.
we've had an explanation provided to us. It's an agreement we've entered into that we've committed to long term.
Oh, I see. The statements and reports are not required. I understand. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Nancy.
Supposedly an honor.
Okay, so I've prepared this year upon your request, an individual request for decision for each one of these organizations, and that will be in the agenda package. So if I've summarized basically what you have on that table, the cheat sheet in each RFD, it will tell you whether they've submitted their annual report or I'm waiting for it. And they're fairly straightforward. So if the motions provided for you at the top of the RFD, if you'd wish to just go through them in order that is in the agenda, I think that would be good for Carolyn.
All right.
I'm sorry, can I get an answer here? We're working here. I'm going through this here. I do see a list here, the new business list on our agenda, but I'm trying to find out where we're looking at Nancy's information.
At the cheat sheet specifically?
Yeah, is there a page number to that?
No, and I think, and as this is being discussed, I'm going through my correspondence trying to find it because I don't remember how
That's exactly what I
and
find myself
it's
doing as well.
not, it isn't in my inbox.
It was sent
So
out
if somebody could
separately.
give us a number or a page to find, it'd be lovely. Thank you.
There were 4 attachments.
Okay.
There were 4 attachments. It's in the 4 attachments. Carolyn did send it.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it was sent and it's
Or
having trouble finding
attachments
it.
to what?
Yeah.
Right
All these-
after I posted
Or
the agenda,
attachments to what?
right after I posted the ginormous agenda package to SharePoint, I followed
Okay.
that with a second email that attached the agenda, the 2 cheat sheets, and the 2 policies in an attachment in emails.
Yeah.
They're not in SharePoint. They were attachments to emails in case you had opportunity somewhere
That
to
was
print.
last week.
Mhm.
Would have been Friday, yes, when I posted the agenda. So I thought it would be easier rather than trying to flip either between screens or come to my house and pick an 84-page agenda package. If you could get the 2 cheat sheets that had the little spreadsheets from Nancy, the 2 policies, and the agenda sheet, would be easier to follow along that way with most of the information.
Carolyn, would you mind resending that to all of council, right?
I just emailed it. to
You did? Oh, thank you very much. That
Thank you,
saves a
John.
lot of,
It says a summary sheet for council.
that's what it is. Got it. Thank you. That was helpful.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's much easier. Okay. All right, Nancy. Oh, Councillor Morrison.
So now do we need 3 screens? I have 2 going here. Do I now need a 3rd one? Or can I operate simply on the big package?
I think if you're,
Package does not have the cheat sheets in it.
I don't care about cheat sheets.
And you could, the big package should do for you.
Okay, thank you.
okay. All right, Nancy.
Okay, so the first request for decision will be the Annapolis Board of Trade Visitor Information Center, if you'd like to
We can start there.
start there.
All right. Have a glass of water.
All right.
Annapolis Board of Trade Visitors Information Center. Council approve a grant in the amount of $2,000 to the Annapolis Board of Trade Visitors Information Center in accordance with AM-1.4.11 community contribution grant policy.
Seconder for the motion, seconded by Councillor Hemming. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Annapolis County 4-H Leaders Council, $500.
Hold it, please.
Where are we at?
Okay,
So now we're on
Jesus.
we're on page 25 of 284 in your agenda package.
may I?
Yes, Councillor Morrison.
We need time to scroll
Understood.
through.
Okay, so Deputy Warden, if give us each a few minutes to scroll through to get to the spot we need to be after each one, if that's all right. Gives you a chance to have a sip of water too, so that's not bad.
Okay.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay, Deputy Warden.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $500 to the Annapolis County 4-H Leaders Council in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contributions Grant Policy, pending all policy requirements are met.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. And now page 27 of 284.
Annapolis County Barristers Association Lovett Library. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,460 to the Annapolis County Barristers Association Lovett Library in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contributions Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion.
McNeil.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Hemming.
$2,400.
I object to this. I object to this every year, and I think the warden pointed to it, and I don't think there's anything that we can do about it. I guess we're married to this until life ends. But I wish, and I always raise the idea that I wish there's something that we could do to see if we can shake this loose, because it's a lot of money every year, and it really supports barristers who are very well heeled that certainly pay for these services. So I certainly will vote to support it, but I want to raise the issue that I'd love to figure out a way to raise this where we can discontinue this at some point.
Thank you, Councillor Hemming. I agree. I've had a concern about this right from the beginning. It's a puzzling thing to me, because it seems that in a sense we're providing a service by providing archival space for this collection of periodicals and collection of journals. So we're providing a service and paying for the privilege of providing the service, which is very curious to me.
That's right.
Councillor Prout.
I would just agree with that statement. I think that the barristers should be able to do without that in the future. I don't know how, new to this, I don't know how to go about changing it, but I was surprised when I saw that.
That's right. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I will be voting against this motion. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Councillor Gunn.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we went through that, and we had last year, we had Bruce come and explain to us that it was a great honor or something to be able to.
I think what he explained to us is that we couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right.
Is a written agreement that's on file.
Mm-hmm. Councillor LeBlanc, and that's
No oversight in those days.
Councillor LeBlanc, and then the Deputy Warden.
Well, actually, I was just going to say, from every year that I've been sitting here, it's the same statement. We can't get out of it. We have a signed contract, and there it is. So even if we voted against this, how can we get out of it?
How can they force it?
I don't know what the answer to that is. And so, I mean, I don't know how you back up when you have a signed agreement and you signed agreement with. That's just a question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler?
Yeah, I'd like to defer this if we could until we see the written agreement.
John?
Excuse me. I believe the money is used to update the articles that are required as part of the ongoing aspect of the library. So it's a bit of a service to make sure that the information there is kept up to date. I do believe with new technologies that that's probably happening in a variety of areas, but let me talk to the solicitor and see if there's a way that we can maybe have a sunset clause in this so that we can, walk away from it at some point, see if the agreement can be adjusted. We probably both mutually have to agree, and that may be in the agreement. So let me have a discussion with them, see what I can do.
Thank you. So in the interim, John, are you suggesting we should defer this decision, or we should implement it for right now and let that discussion take place and have an impact on deliberations next year?
I think it's an agreement. You have to, we should honor it, and but let me have a discussion with them to see if we can get a sunset clause.
Councillor Henry?
If I hate to speak twice on this issue, and I think Councillor Morris and his courage gave me courage. I think perhaps the thing to do, and what I would be prepared to do, is vote against this. If we turned it down, that would force the issue. If we can just continue to rubber stamp it every year, I just think the way to do it is if the council votes it down, then we let them know that, and then we go from there. So I'm going to vote against this as well as Councillor Morrison.
Mr. Warden, if I might.
Councillor McNeil?
Yeah, John, you're saying you're going to talk to Bruce. I wonder if we shouldn't get an independent answer on this. I mean, Bruce is Bruce, but he's also our lawyer, but he's also the one basically running the library too, I think. So maybe we need an independent, somebody outside here just to have a look at the agreement. Because I don't think there's any way out of the agreement. I don't think even if we voted down, we're still going to have to pay it because there's an agreement in place. But I think we need an independent look at it just to find out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McNeil. Deputy Warden?
And I'm on the same page as Councillor Fowler. I'd like to see the agreement, and I will not be supporting this year either. And we do this every year. We come to this topic, we go through the same thing, but it just doesn't seem, we don't seem to get anywhere with it, I guess. So I will not be supporting it.
Thank you. Carolyn? I'll come to Councillor McDonald in just a moment. Carolyn, yes?
I believe when this question comes up every single year, I believe it appears in this policy because we cannot give money unless it's a grant. And we are tied by agreement to provide this money. This is the only avenue that we have as a municipality to provide that money that is tied up in that agreement. I believe the agreement was circulated last year, probably the year before that. We can pull that up and circulate it. We've talked to the solicitor. We've got, it's a pretty solid agreement, and it continues. This is the mechanism that we can use to provide that money. We have to call it a grant, and that's why it appears in this policy.
Thank you, Carolyn. Councillor McDonald.
Item C says options consider providing the first one providing 2460 and the second one being not approving the grant. I don't think we'd be afraid of not approving it when the option has been provided.
Yeah.
That's all. And we'll see what happens.
Thank you. All right, and we'll pursue this. I certainly encourage all councillors to vote your conscience on this. I will just briefly.
Wanda had a statement.
I will support the motion. I just wanted to explain why I will, and it's simply because we have a signed agreement in place. I think we can talk with the other parties to the agreement to talk about a sunset clause or a way to eventually terminate the agreement. I don't believe in breaching agreements. It's as simple as that. I think this was always a mistake, and I think that the municipality needs to find a way out of it. But I'm not in favor of breaching an agreement in order to do that. So I will be supporting the motion.
So,
Councillor LeBlanc?
well, Wanda had something to say. However, when I'm looking at this and thinking about this, I think maybe if we do accept this, and more or less in theory, most of us do not. However, because of the agreement, but if we stated into a letter sending to them the grant money, let's just say that this will be the last time because of the fact that we need to come to an agreement on this. I mean, we can't not give it to them now, but we certainly.
I believe we've tried that, and
Yes.
it was not acceptable in accordance with the agreement.
So we have to give it to them anyway. Like, bottom line is that's the bottom line. And Wanda had something to say.
Wanda, there you are.
It was just a brief history lesson. This item, Lovett Library, appeared in our statements or your budget. It was a separate line item in a budget under recreation when I worked there 25 years ago. Changes were made in the policy for grants, and I think Carolyn will remember this, and it's basically when we discovered the only mechanism to give money to other outside organizations was through the grant process. So for years and years and years, council approved the budget, and with that as a separate line item. Then it came forward as we had to put it there in the grant process to enable us to give the money to the association. And it is it's a pretty ironclad agreement. We pulled it out year after year after year. And anyway, that's just a history lesson.
Can I make a suggestion? This is just about the municipality to make sure that it proceeds in good faith. I think you should defer it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let me have a chance to talk about it. I think it's run its life cycle, and I think there's an opportunity to see if we can have this. I would defer a decision. Voting it down means we'd be against the contract. If we defer it, it gives me a chance. Means you're not approving it right now, but it gives me a chance to have that discussion. And,
Thank you. Could I'll ask if someone like to make a motion to defer. Deputy Warden?
I'll make the motion to defer it until information is brought back to council.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, folks. I'm glad that that's the approach that we're taking to this. I think it makes sense.
Yes.
All right, Deputy Warden.
Annapolis County Federation of Agriculture. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $500 to the Annapolis County Federation of Agriculture in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grants Policy, pending policy requirements are submitted.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. Deputy Warden.
Can I ask what is pending for this organization?
Nancy?
Yes, absolutely. I am waiting for them to prove their not-for-profit status. So their joint stocks number that I check on the Nova Scotia Joint Stocks site every year to make sure that their status is good. So their status was not good. I had actually an email conversation with my contact from the Federation, and then she advised me that they were listed under a parent organization, so the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. So I looked them up, and they're also defaulted right now for non-payment. So I'm waiting for a response from them to let me know which we could use either one. We often do use parent organizations to maintain a status. So I'm waiting for an approved status.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. So is it only for the next group of grant applications, community organizations, for which registration with joint stocks is not mandatory?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks very much. Deputy Warden.
Annapolis County Ground Search and Rescue, $3,000.
Hold up.
And I move council approve a grant in the amount of $3,000 to the Annapolis County Ground Search and Rescue Association in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grants Policy, pending policy requirements are submitted.
All right, seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Sheridan.
So just regarding the policy, I see that they've requested financial statements, and I'm not opposed to giving them the grant at all. But I'm just wondering if we're following policy correctly. I see there's about 8 of them that they haven't received their financial statements. So is that something we should just defer, or
Well,
is that
the way that the motion is phrased, it says that the grant is approved pending policy requirements are submitted. So that means that we approve it, and so it goes back into the hands of staff. But if they don't remit those documents, then we don't release the funds.
perfect? Okay, thank you.
And
That clears that up.
Councillor LeBlanc.
And while we're on that, so, I mean, we're giving them the money, it's counted like this, I agree. However, to all of these, do they get put at the end of the line? And if they don't come in and other people come in before them and they have all their paperwork in line, do they get in first and there's a possibility of not having this money for these people? If you know what I'm saying.
If council passes the motion to provide the grant, it can't be removed. It can't be removed from them.
So it just
That would be my understanding. It would say that would stand. They could take however long it took to have those documents, and they wouldn't receive the funds until the documents came in. But those funds are at this point, if council passes the motion, reserved for them. Is that correct, Nancy?
Yeah, so this particular policy is budgeted for separately in your operating budget. So this amount of funds is actually not a part of your community grants policy that we're doing next. So like the warden said, it is protected until they can submit these documents. And part 2 is the financial statements in accordance with your policy are not required technically until July 5th.
Councillor Fowler?
Yeah.
Oh, Councillor Gunn.
$3,000 seems to be an awful small amount for what we get from ground search and rescue, and I would sure like to see what 5,000. But anyway, that's my input.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Gunn, and then I think John wants to weigh in as well. Councillor Gunn.
Thank you so much. I thought we were going to increase this. We had been talking about this for a year now. There were a couple of things we were going to try to support grounds and search and rescue. And I was sure that one time we had talked about $5,000. It certainly came up in conversation. And that's what other counties around Queens County, Clare, Digby County, they all give theirs $5,000 a year. And in some of those counties, they actually give them a place that they can work out of, an old garage or something like that, that they look after themselves and cleaned up. We don't have that yet. I think we need to support them.
Thank you. John, you wanted to say a couple words?
Yeah, there's a standing resolution by council several months ago that council delegated or gave me the authority based on a request from Ground Search and Rescue to be able to spend up to $6,000 from operational reserve if they require it. So that is still the capability. There was discussion of and actually a request for increase the base funding, I think, to 6,000. And I see the request here, or the suggested amount is 3,000 from Nancy. Nancy, was there a higher request put in there by any chance?
Just, I don't have the document here.
No, not for this year, no. Council did support this organization through a community grant to help with a new vehicle. I believe it was last year or the year before. So I work with Hilton, and because this policy has a set amount, if they have any other projects or funding needs, I encourage them to apply through the community grants policy, which they would be eligible to do, and they have taken advantage of that in the past.
So,
Sheridan?
no,
Go ahead, John.
sorry, the question I'm clarifying is in the recommendation, in the summary sheet, it says 3,000. Is that what they requested or did they request more?
This policy is not a request policy. It's whatever's listed in the policy.
It's the automatic amounts. This is the
Yes.
standing list.
So they didn't ask for any more.
Not this year, no.
Okay.
We have had groups in the past ask to increase the amounts in this policy. However, I have to direct them to the clerk's office to present to council, and then you would have to recommend a policy change and go through your procedures to change the actual policy before that's applied.
They have made a request. I think it just went out. I think it went to all the councilors. I don't think it was formally on our agenda. I think a request was submitted by Hilliard. And anyway, to make a long story short, I think the request was there. Was there a discussion at all, Nancy, when on this application? Were they fine with that in your discussions with them?
There was no discussion this year, but we did have a discussion last year, yes, that he did want to see the amount increase to help them with their operational costs.
Yeah.
And I directed him to Carolyn to address council.
Okay, so just to help close the loop here so people understand, Nancy wouldn't have been a part of those discussions when he went directly to all council in his request. And then he'll reach out to Nancy on certain stuff and she would give him the advice on how he needs to proceed. I think to a certain extent that was even a bit confusing for the group, not from anything Nancy said, but just on how they perceived our grant programs to unfold. Try to help clarify that with him on the phone. I think he was satisfied with her answer. I think right now, if they're applying for 3,000 under here, they can apply under the other grant or they can come to me directly. So there's options for them. And this is on the public record on the Zoom video. So you can go back and use this as evidence that we're there to support them.
I've got Councillor Sheridan, then Councillor Fowler, and then Councillor Sheridan.
So there was actually three presenters that come in February, March, whenever it was. And one was the Middleton Medical Clinic and the Ground Search and Rescue, and the other one was Trans-County Transportation. And at the time, we sent all three to budget deliberations. As we were told, there was not enough funding in the budget to do this. So my understanding was that as things unfold and we go back to revisit the budget every 3 months, if there is funding available, we were going to look at these three presenters and possibly grant them money at that time when we revisit the budget. And I believe that's the way I took it. If I'm not correct in saying that, please correct me. Thank you.
I believe that summary is exactly correct. Thank you, Councillor Sheridan. Councillor Fowler?
No, I got nothing more to say other than to see it still increased to 5,000. And I think the only reason they didn't request is because they aren't, it's not that they don't need it, it's just that they are an independent group, kind of.
Mr. LeBlanc?
Thank you. I was on wavelength when reading these documents the other day or over the weekend, that we had three groups that needed X amount of dollars, and at this time we did not have the money. So I'm thinking we could amend this particular section of the grants and give them the extra 2,000 so that they would receive 5. So that would kind of take one of the three off the list, and somehow look to see how we can provide maybe through these grants that money for the hospital or the clinic that's being built also in Middleton. So I think if we have the money there, and I mean, I wish the government would provide the same thing as we do. I mean, right now we're providing exactly what the government is providing, and maybe, you know, I mean, I think that hopefully they're doing a study that they have to increase the budget as well for these people, because right now they're being used as much as anybody else for the safety of our citizens. So, and with barely no money. So I think possibility that we can change this particular grant to a bigger grant and have them covered from the 3 would be my option. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Carolyn, you were wanting to interject, and I'll go to the deputy warden right afterwards.
Yeah. So when Ground Search comes in and they're requesting funds, it is outside of what they get in this pre-designated. They're not applying for the grant you're looking at right now.
Yes.
This
I
is
agree.
automatic to them. So when they are looking for funds, it's outside of this amount. It's in addition to this amount. This is, they're going to get this from us every year if council passes it. For the amount to change is a policy change. It would take 7 days notice and all of that to change this policy. This does not stop them from applying through the other grant process. This is a given for them every year. We ask them for the 3 requirements that Nancy outlined, and we provide this. Council did increase this to 3,000, I think maybe 2 years ago. It used to be
I think it's more than
2,500,
that.
I think. So council has increased this policy for this group in the past, and they've been, we've asked them to submit grant applications through the other process. And council then did address, as the CAO outlined, the additional funding was available to them through his office. But this is outside of a grant request. This is what they're expecting from us each year.
And I agree, if I may respond, and I did know that. But however, and every time they have to do something, there's always paperwork to be done. So maybe the increase is well worth it, is what I'm saying. Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you. Councillor Sheridan?
So I just wanted to point out that one of them on the yearly one that we automatically do is the Trans-County Transportation. And they have additionally applied for an additional 25,000.
Right.
And also they're one of the 3 that we're waiting to help out. So then we'd be down to 2. We'd be down to the medical clinic and Ground Search and Rescue. So I just wanted to point that out. So maybe there will be a little bit left over that they can apply and for the clinic and the Ground Search additionally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's, Deputy Warden, sorry.
Well, and I agree with Councilor Sheridan. We put those 3 on the list when we review the budget in 3 months. And I mean, they're a priority. And I also saw that Tri-County Transit, Trans-County Transit applied for the other money in these, which we had already made a motion, or we had already agreed on or made a motion to put them to the 3 months review.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're going to honor their application, then we've got to look at coming up with the rest of the money for the other 2 in this process. Or we've got to honor our motion that was made to defer them until the 3-month period.
Correct.
But again, that would be an application outside of this policy.
You could sort of think of this as the core funding, the part that's consistent every year and that doesn't have to be sort of negotiated as an amount. They've come with a request to us for additional funding, and those we didn't have the resources to satisfy those requests when they came in, and those were the things that we had agreed we would be discussing quarterly as the year unfolds and we see how much money remains in our budget. So this core funding doesn't affect those additional requests. This is, they're expecting this, and then the additional requests we will accommodate as our capacity allows.
Right.
All right. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Folks, could we just take a quick 10-minute recess?
Sure.
I'll ask Carolyn if you'll pause the recording. Thank you. There we go. Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all back. I'm going to request a motion to alter our schedule for the day and bring our in-camera up to now. We have somebody joining us in camera whose availability is limited today. We want to make sure that it's possible. So if I could request that motion. Moved by Councillor DeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Hemming. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
I'm
Opposed?
sorry.
Timothy, we have to state the section of the act.
Oh, I'm sorry. I came on MGA section 22(2)E and F, which is contract negotiation and solicitor-client privilege for litigation or potential litigation.
Are we going in camera now?
So that was a motion to amend the agenda. You still need the motion to go in camera?
Okay, sorry.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Sorry. I'll have a motion to go in camera now under the MGA section 22E and 22F, moved by Councillor Hemming and seconded by Councillor Fowler. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
That number, that you sent us that number for the in-camera, didn't you, Carolyn, last week?
Yes, yes.
We've had right
It's in an
along.
email. Yeah.
So I'm going to turn the recording off now.
Okay, thank you.
The number for in camera.
Wait.
It's that way.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you back from our in-camera session. We recessed after in-camera to give people a quick chance to have a bite to eat. And we are back and continuing now with our grants meeting. I'm going to ask the Deputy Warden if she could resume. I think we're at the Annapolis Royal Historic Garden Society grant.
Yeah, hello?
You're
and
muted, Martha.
Yeah.
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
Hey. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,000 to Annapolis Royal Historical Garden Society in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are submitted.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,500 to the Annapolis Valley Exhibition Society in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion.
McNeil.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,000 to the Annapolis Valley Exhibition Visitors Information Center in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconder for the motion. Councillor Sheridan. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motions. Oh, Councillor Proud.
I'm just curious, given that the exhibition is canceled, the Visitor Information Center, could someone fill me in on that part of it?
Good question. Thank you.
I've been in contact with Gidget, the manager for the exhibition, and yes, they did cancel the exhibition. However, they are planning and hoping to conduct some type of activities. They don't know what they look like yet. The museum, I believe, is planning on opening when they are able to. So the Visitor Information Center is actually located inside the museum.
Okay. I've donated an artifact to that museum, so thank you for the clarification.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Proud. All right. For the discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,000 to the Annapolis Valley Historical Society, McDonald Museum, in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Morrison.
I haven't been there for a number of years, but I know from comments that this is a great place. And besides that, any place named after McDonald can't be all that bad.
There you go.
Not every day, anyway.
All right.
I have a statement.
Yes, Councillor Leblanc.
They are officially going to be closed this full season. I don't know if everybody knew that.
No.
will we be able, well, I presume that they'll send information, I forget his name, to you, Nancy, as. to
They are actually going to be closed the rest of the season, yes.
Yeah.
They would still have ongoing operational expenses for insurances and power and
Yes.
things of that sort, though. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Further discussion on the motion?
No.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,500 to the Annapolis West Health Foundation, RCMP Senior Safety Program, in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconder for the motion, seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. Yes, Councillor Gunn. You're muted, sir.
I'm just trying to figure out who is who in, it's not that I want to vote against it or anything. What is the Annapolis West Health Foundation? RCMP Senior Safety Program. I don't have a clue who they are.
This is funding that goes to support the work and programming that's being done by Sharon Elliott with the RCMP.
So that's what it's for.
Yeah, and I'd say that probably, I was actually going to say this is probably some of the most effective money we ever spend as a municipality. The amount of community good that is done by the work of Sharon Elliott in conjunction with the RCMP is astonishing.
Sure, I absolutely understand that and realize that. So but that goes through, we're giving money to the Annapolis West Health Foundation so that they support the senior safety program.
Yes.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. Yeah. Excellent.
I think sorry.
And Sharon Elliott is a virtual automaton. She's a whirling dervish. She is always somewhere and very, very popular and has got great influence on the public. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Councillor McNeil?
I think you'll find as well too, Mike, they're just, that'll be probably clients that the Annapolis West Foundation will move to her, not so they have money to get her to work on some of their stuff as well.
I know she does wonderful work.
That's right.
Oh, she's phenomenal. I'm telling you, I've dealt with Sharon now for almost 20 years, and she is phenomenal. And the older folks love her.
Absolutely.
Just love her.
Absolutely. All right, further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,000 to the Bear River Economic Development Society Visitors Information Center in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor. Oh, Councillor Gunn, did you want to speak?
Yeah.
No? Councillor LeBlanc?
I'm chasing back and forth here. There we go.
Okay.
So they're the same thing. When it comes to tourist information centers this year, we're going to be presuming that they're all going to have their expenses and one thing else carry on. Probably even staff of some sort. Is that the idea?
Yes, I actually spoke with the representative from the Bear River Visitor Information Center last week, and they are in the process of ordering social distancing supplies. And I think some of them are actually being supplied by the province. So they're getting screens. They won't be opening as quickly as they want, but I was speaking with Velda, I believe her name is, and she is, they're really hopeful to open this summer and salvage some of the summer, and they're have full plans to put social distancing measures in place and protective stuff for their employee.
Is that pretty much what most tourist information centers are doing in and around the province and in around the county in particular?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Further discussion? Councillor LeBlanc?
No, actually, that is exactly what I wanted to talk about, and it's cleared.
Excellent. Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,000 to the Bridgetown and Area Chamber of Commerce Visitors Information Center in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,000 to the Southwest Nova Transition House Association, Juniper's House, in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconder for the motion.
McNeil.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion.
I have a question.
Councillor Lavelle.
What, I'm in favor to support Juniper House. However, when you read on page 70, the first line is that the Southwest Nova Transition House Association Juniper House is situated in Yarmouth and serves Yarmouth, Shelburne, and Digby counties. I was kind of put back by that.
It's my understanding that they also do serve residents of Annapolis County. That's always been the basis of our provision of a grant. And we don't have a similar facility located within Annapolis County. So if we want to have that service available for our residents, then the only place to which we can direct them is this at the moment.
Which I agree totally 100% that it's not imposing the grant at all. It's just that
You wish our name should have been in there.
well, I thought that, being that they serve us and they're asking for our assistance, that, for contribution, that they would be in there as well.
Perhaps Nancy could convey that back to them. Councillor Prout?
As a longtime subscriber to what used to be the Yarmouth Vanguard, now it's the Troy County Vanguard, I've read, lots of articles on Juniper House, and I do believe they do a lot of programming that takes in Annapolis County as well, conferences and so on. And I'd almost swear Queens County. I'm not sure of that, but I know Lake is part of it.
McNeil?
Yeah, I think you'll find there that residents down west would be taken to Digby or i.e. down to Juniper House itself, rather than all the way up to Kentwood.
Okay.
Correct.
Further? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Carolyn wants to.
Oh, sorry, Carolyn?
That's okay. I just wanted to remind council that Juniper House is one of the faithful people who provides a very in-depth annual report to you in February.
Yes.
And they always outline how how Annapolis County is served by them in that report.
Thank you. Okay. So I think let's do once more. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks very much.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $500 to the Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve Association in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grants Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Hemming.
Yeah, just a quick one for Councillor Gunn, I suppose. There was some some controversy at one time that some of the other participating municipalities aren't contributing as much as Annapolis County. Do you know if that's still the case?
Here's what I know. Last year, we put, most counties pay the same as what we pay every year. Last year, we did put it, they asked us for a little more money in the pot to put the sign up that we have in Middleton, right? So that's where that. Now, Queens County, apparently when I was talking to Dave Daggle, well, not apparently, when I was talking to Dave Daggle and them, they were actually, the Ward of Queens Mayor, they're talking about funding a song this year too. So everybody seems to put up some money and we get a little more notoriety.
Great, thank you. I strongly.
So we're doing great work with the Science Atlas and all the rest of it. It's going well.
Thank you.
With the COVID thing nowadays, the Science Atlas is being applied to a few little studies, right, as well. So it's all-
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,500 to the Special Olympics Annapolis County in accordance with 1.4.11 Community Contribution Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Morrison.
He's muted.
Yes, you got your mute still on.
Thanks for telling me. I'm wondering whether we might communicate as we do from time to time with these folks and let them know that Annapolis County is open for their activities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Warden?
And I was wondering if there was some way that when Annapolis County residents participate in the Olympic Games, that we could be notified, because a lot of them win medals and that's missed at council, and we don't send them out their letter of recognition.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Councillor Gunn?
And thank you. And perhaps we could send them a letter inviting them to try our new track facility out in Bridgetown. They're going to be having open in Bridgetown. Maybe we could get an early plug-in for that over the next year or two.
Maybe we could host.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Councillor McDonald. Councillor McDonald?
Yeah, a young friend of mine who helps out with our provincial championship basketball team during the year,
Yay.
Dylan Taylor, attended the Winter Canadian these Special Olympics, these winter, and was a medal winner there.
Excellent.
Just this past winter. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I'm very
Do you know
proud of
what? Do you know what event he competed in?
cross country skiing, I know, and he
Excellent.
did very well. It seems to me he got a gold.
Oh, that's marvelous. Thank you for sharing
but I
that.
think it's a good idea that so that we can send a letter to them, so they advise us. Thank you, Deputy Warden. I think it's a good idea.
I think that's a great idea. Excellent. All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,000 to the Town of Middleton Visitors Information Center in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grant Policy, pending policy requirements are met.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Sheridan. Discussion. All in favor of the motion. Councillor Deputy Warden, go ahead.
So their Visitors Information Center has, correct me if I'm wrong, has now moved to the McDonald Museum?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Nancy?
I was email communicating with Andy from the town of Annapolis, from the town of Middleton, and he was meeting, I believe, with their council last week to discuss the center for the summer. I do not know if they're going to open or not. He couldn't tell me the answer before we met.
All
So
right.
they haven't, as far as I know, made the decision to open the VIC yet or not.
So if they don't, okay. Councillor Gunn?
Well, thank you. Isn't that kind of double dipping? Well, straight up, because we just funded 2 different tourist information centers, didn't we? That are going to be one. Is that what I'm getting here, or I'm not?
I think. Well, we fund. I think we fund 4 or 5 all told. Bear River, Bridgetown, Middleton, Annapolis Royal, and the Lawrencetown Exhibition. So that's 5.
Oh, well, I got it wrong then. So we're helping fund Middleton's bureau.
That's right.
Didn't we just say we were going to fund the museum as a tourist bureau as well?
I think the funding was for the.
Did I have that wrong? Well,
I think that's operational funding for the museum itself. Is that right, Nancy?
Yeah, so the McDonald Museum is run by the Historical Society. The Visitor Information Center in Middleton is actually operated by the town of Middleton. So they have 2 separate financial envelopes and groups. The one you were referring to, Councillor Gunn, is, I believe, from the exhibition. So the exhibition has
What-
the VIC in it as well. The one you just funded before?
Well, I don't know what, I've completely balled up now because we're talking about,
Yeah, yeah.
about the McDonald House Museum we just talked about a few minutes ago, and I thought that that was mentioned in there, that was part of the Tourist Information Center. And I may have had that wrong, but I thought that was implied in there. And then we just get another one from Middleton saying, well, we'll give them $2,000 for their visitor information center, but that's been moved to the McDonald Museum. So what are we funding? Does that just sort of two of them float into one?
Nancy, can you answer that for us?
Yeah,
Am I not?
the McDonald Museum is operated and funded through the Historical Society, where the Visitor Information Center, no matter where it's located, is funded and run by the town of Middleton.
Right.
And did somebody not just say that they were blended into the one, it was going to be ran out of?
I think it's going to be it'll be out of the museum. So its location will be the museum, but they're separate operations. It's providing space, just as the visitor center in Lawrencetown is in the agricultural museum, but they're separate entities. Just it provides the physical location. Is that right?
As in Annapolis and the rest of them. Okay, got it.
Okay, thank you. All right, further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move that council approve a grant in the amount of $35,000 to the Trans-County Transportation Society in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Oh, a question? All in favor of the
Yeah,
motion?
please.
All in
No,
favor
I
of
got
the
a
motion?
question. No,
Oh,
I have a
sorry.
question.
I thought you were calling
Yeah.
a question. Go ahead.
Wasn't there somewhere else that we gave them $25,000?
It's coming up.
It's coming
And
up.
then the next lot of grants.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Councillor LeBlanc?
This 35,000 is the 35,000 we give them every year.
Right.
Right.
The other one is the add-on grant.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
I move that council approve a grant in the amount of $2,500 to the Victorian Order of Nurses, Annapolis Valley Branch, in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grants Policy.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, so we're on now to our next group of grants. Nancy, do you want to, is there anything, if you could perhaps run through the policy again for us just really briefly, particularly for Councillor Proud?
Absolutely. I'm switching screens too. Just give me one moment.
No problem.
Okay, so your community grants policy is open to any not-for-profit or charitable organization within the county, and sometimes without the county, as long as they serve Annapolis County somehow. And they have to fill out an application form every year and also provide a few other pieces of information along with the application form, such as a project description, a copy of their most recent financial statements, normally a project budget, if there's more than one item that is involved in the project. Normally applications are due around March 1st timeframe. However, traditionally council will view and accept applications all year long, pending how much, if any, money is left in your budget for that year. So the applications we decided a couple years ago are going to be viewed in order in which they are received. Within the community grants policy, there's several different categories. So every different category has a set of criteria itself as well. So if there's any particular questions about which category they're applying under, I'd be happy to ask. Some of the categories include Community Programs Assistance Fund, So that particular program, municipal council will provide up to 50% of the program costs, up to a maximum of $2,000. So depending on the program, we work it out with them. Then other category would be the marketing and promotion partnership programs. Traditionally, council has funded that, groups through that for festivals, events, the Age Advantage Association for signage, Southwest Nova Biosphere also got signage over the last few years with that one. Normally there's some perks for municipal council to promote the county in some way. So for example, we've previously did the Wharf Rat Rally, and they've included, you know, a half-page spread for the county and some promotional items. There's a community heritage and lighthouse museums and grants category. The next one is very popular, Community Halls and Centers Program Assistance Fund. And that's one of our most widely used programs. And that helps all of our community centers with capital projects, repairs to the building and grounds, mainly roof. Heating improvements has been a big one over the last few years, or replacing kitchen appliances. There's a Trails Assistance Program category. So that helps fund our volunteer trails organizations and groups that help maintain the trails that are up throughout Annapolis County. The Harvest Moon Trail, for example, has received a lot of work and a lot of good PR over the last few years, and a lot of funding from municipal council. We also have a capital projects assistance program, and within that there's two categories. There's a small and a large. The small program, they have to match whatever they're asking for, up to $5,000. And the large capital, they do not have to match. However, normally they are goals that municipal council has an interest in. It may be part of your long-term strategic goals, and it's a service that we may otherwise provide in the county, such as arenas, pools, recreational facilities, transportation, etc. There is a brand new category that was added to this policy last year called Organizational Restructuring and Planning Grants, and I have yet to have an application for that one for you yet. I was working on one with King's Theatre, however, they decided to go with the large capital program, but they are thinking about that for the future. And possibly one other organization in the county might put an application in, however, it's not ready for council yet. So the budget's 1.66% of your expected tax revenues for the year. And so finance will give me the budget that you guys approve every year, and I process them in the order in which I receive them and keep you updated on the little financial section at the end of each RFD. And that's a general summary. So if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councillor Morrison, and then Councillor Gunn.
Thank you, and thank you, Nancy, for that explanation. We know that in the last number of decades, because of the closure and moving of schools, and because of the closure of churches, that community halls and the alike have become so much more important in the life of communities. And this present pandemic with which we are faced and by which we are challenged is going to force us to be ever more concentrated in our communities, and thus the community hall's role will be enhanced and increased. And I'm all for these organizations and will support every one of them that I possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Gunn.
Thank you. You said organizational restructuring or something. There was a grant there you just mentioned here when you're going through them. It was one of the last ones that said it was just last year, implemented last year. Now, was that implemented by us last year?
Yes.
By the municipal council last year?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you.
Deputy Warden?
That was, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the grant that was part of the exhibitions asked last year to do a strategic plan and a 5-year plan.
That's right.
That's really.
And that's where we came up with that extra grant name.
Right. New category. All
So
right.
we essentially created it last year
Yes.
by getting an organization to grant.
Yeah, good. All right. Any further questions for Nancy? If not, then perhaps the deputy warden could proceed.
Okay. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $25,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Pledge Grants to the Lawrencetown Exhibition Youth Arena to assist with completing improvements and repairs to the arena in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,159.25 from the 2021 Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the West Dalhousie Community Hall Association, assisted with floor replacement and kitchen upgrades in accordance with AM-1.4.9 community grant policies.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. Just like to say that I always really appreciate it when I see an application that comes in that is this specific in the request. It gives me great assurance that every single penny of what we provide is being used for a very specific purpose, and I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,500 from the 2021 Marketing and Promotions Partnership Program to the Southwest Nova Biosphere Association to assist with marketing and project costs in accordance with AM-1.4.9 community grants policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $20,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Pledge Grants to the Fundy Dental Community Association to assist with their Building Healthy Smiles Fundy Dental Community Project 2020 Capital Project Campaign in accordance with AM-1.4.9 community grants policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconder for the motion. Even to get on the table for discussion. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion. Deputy Warden.
Could somebody, this is a new one to me.
Me too.
Could Nancy give us an explanation on what it is and what it does?
Absolutely. I was approached by their funding manager. So it was a group of local dentists.
Goddamn reason.
Oh, Councillor Gunn. If you could mute your feed, if you could, Councillor Gunn. Thanks.
So they were basically going around raising money to build a community dental association. So their main goal is to fund low-income families and people that can't afford regular dental costs. They do service people from Annapolis County and the Valley. Their clinic's actually located outside of Annapolis County. They were very professional with their, if I would have given you all that they gave me, you would have had a book about this big. It was a really well done. They put in two applications. So one application was for a large amount of money. And she said, well, we'll try to get that to help buy lab equipment and fixed costs for building the clinic. However, she said if we honestly are looking for any type of support So they did put in a program grant, I believe, for $2,000. I mentioned it down in the comments. So if she said if it was palatable to council, I said we can't put in 2 applications. So I'll mention that you put in 2 applications. Again, it would be up to municipal council whether they wanted to support the project or not. They are a not-for-profit organization. I did check that fully.
If I may, this is Deb Ryan here. Nancy and I discussed this in great detail, and we felt that it was really up for council discussion here in terms of a decision, because it was new, and we felt that it was really your decision, and it was a good program, but it's really the amount is up to council decision.
It was a new one for us too.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Well, is this the one that's in Colebrook itself?
I believe so. Yes.
It's situated in Colebrook. Is this not also the same place that if there's an emergency, then your doctors aren't around, is that not the same place as well? And if
I'm not sure about that. I'd have to ask her.
Because I heard about it this year. Actually, I guess January or February is when I heard about it. I think it's a very important place to be, however, and to have, but it's also something that our residents should also know about. And I know that I'm pretty sure that most people don't know anything about this particular place. I know that some of the doctors that give money or contribute their time to this area, the dentists, are actually former students of Minneapolis County as well. So having said that, number one, I think if we're going to do anything and put anything in, which I think it's a positive thing, we should definitely have some kind of information for our public to know about this, because I know they don't know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor McDonald, and you're muted, sir. You're mute. You got your mute on. There we go.
I'm cruising as everybody is talking, and I notice on page 131 of 284, if you go there, it appears that they have partners, and one of them is in Cornwallis. It says, right? Cornwallis Dental Center and Appletown Dental. I'm going to assume it's in Berwick, but I don't know that.
Yes.
Are they partners? Like, is that part of this, or?
Nancy,
because if they are partners with Cornwallis, that would.
Yeah. So I think you're looking at the page with the logos on it for like the partnerships. Yeah. So at the top of that page, these are from last year. So this is from the 2019-20 year. So people that they have actually solicited, what type of support they gave and the monetary value. So the Fundy Dental Center, there, I believe, put in kind over $10,000 from the year 2006 and is still doing so. The Cornwallis Dental Center, they promised $5,000 over 5 years. They started in 2016, and next year will be their final year for contribution, which is monetary. So basically it outlines how they've helped, what they're going to help, and what they've committed to. And they put this together last fiscal year just to provide you with some background that they are committed to the project and they're reaching out to many different funding and in-kind opportunities.
Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I'd just like to point out for clarification that the Cornwallis to which reference has been made is not Cornwallis Park. It is the Cornwallis that is in Kings County. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to ask that question.
Okay.
It's like Annapolis Royal and Annapolis.
Gotcha. Further questions or comments about this, folks? Councillor Sheridan? Oh, got something, had a whole list. Just a second. Hold your hands up one more time so I can get everybody down. Sheridan, Deputy Warden, LeBlanc, Fowler, and Gunn. Did I miss anybody? Yeah, Councillor Sheridan, please.
So considering this is new and we're not 100% on everything, I don't I don't have a problem. I think it's a great idea. I don't have a problem supporting the $2,000 ask. I don't know if everybody is aware. I watch the weather quite a bit, but they're predicting this is going to be the worst hurricane season we've had in a long time, and I'm keeping that in the back of my mind in regards to community halls, as Councillor Morrison pointed out. They're kind of the heart of the community. So any money I can conserve in the pot for down the road in case there are emergencies with halls, I would like to do that. So I don't have a problem supporting the 2,000, but I can't support the 20. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, go on to Deputy Warden.
Yeah, and I mean, this, to me, this is a new thing. And I would have really liked to had, and it's nobody's fault, it's just the situation we're in. I would have liked to have had the information on the background of this so I could make a better decision. And I'm in support of a lesser amount, but I'm not in support of the 20,000.
The organization did offer to come in and make a presentation to council.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's at nobody's fault. It's just the situation we're in.
Okay. I've got Councillor Fowler, then Councillor Blau, then Councillor Gunn. John, would you want to be on the list, or do you need to speak right now?
No, I can wait for everybody else.
Okay, Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, I think it's a good project, and it's not for profit, and I think I can back them up on it.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc?
I think that, as I said from the get-go, I think this is a great idea because we know that there's a lot of people that are at the age of 15, they're the difficulties, and this helps them out. I would have to say that we could probably change the amount to about $3,000, and then that way, as I'm sure that we'll be asked again next year, and then we will be able to have maybe information or somebody through video explain to us how it started and go from there. And it'll be a beginning, and it'll be something that will help our residents at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. I think it's a wonderful thing. My God, yes. But also, when it comes down to it, how come we're taking on doing the Department of Health's job?
Right.
The government gets unloaded a lot. They unload all kinds of things down onto us one way or the other, as we're going to find out in Bridgetown and the rest of it. So now this is just one more thing. If they get these seed groups out there and they get this going, we'll end up funding, and this will run into a yearly thing for quite a while to come. When the Department of Health should be doing their job, charging taxes on these damn sugar drinks and the rest that they're allowing people to be putting on the market, and put it through that way. We shouldn't have to come up with tax dollars for this. That's not our job. Not our job. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, just the powers of a municipality, the authorization to expend funds is really, it's meant to be for a municipal purpose. So in some circumstances, we can do certain things, like if you look at the Gordonston project where we purchase property and we're going to build a building on municipal land, the municipality will build the building and lease it. So the building of the building and owning on municipal land is a municipal purpose. That's the key phrase in the Municipal Government Act. It has to be for a municipal purpose. Right. So even though the powers to expend are meant to be more broad or to be determined broadly based on new legislation, that one I would ask to see if we do have the power for that. I'm not sure if that can be defined as a municipal purpose in its format of just giving the entity money. I'm not sure, and I think you should probably check on that.
All right, thank you. I can invest. This was one that I'm torn on as well.
It's a very good cause. There's
as a cause, it's brilliant, and of course we know that dental health is actually much more critical to our overall health than we had believed 30 or 40 years ago. That poor dental health is one of the primary causes of heart attack, for instance. The association is extremely strong. We know that dental issues disproportionately impact people of low income, and we have a real vested interest in doing what we can to help those people. But frankly, that Councillor Gunn's suggestion that gradually municipalities are sort of encouraged to take over more and more of the responsibilities that should really be in provincial hands is a trend that we should try to resist. You want to make sure that your residents get the services they need so that they can be healthy. But at the same time, I don't want to take over a provincial responsibility for funding. So perhaps we could have a motion to have this referred back to staff for some clarification, to find out what our actual ability is in this. Councillor Fowler?
I'd like to make that motion, please.
All right, thank you very much. And seconded by Councillor Prout. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. We're at, there we go.
Okay. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,400 from the 2021 Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Cornwallis Park Community Association to assist with the purchase of a new fridge for the hall in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Hall Policy, Community Grant Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Morrison. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $8,676.34 from the 2021 Large Capital Pledge Grants to the Clean Annapolis River Project to assist with the River Guardians Program in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler and seconded by Councillor LeBlanc because they both had their hands up at virtually the same time. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Morrison, you need to unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you. CARP, as we all know, is a very, very progressive organization. And often we co-equate CARP with just looking after the river and river projects. But I can tell you from experience that those folks are involved deep down in the dirt with community organizations in this area. And the personnel of CARP are very, very cooperative, are willing to learn, and are also willing to pass on everything they know. It's an excellent organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Grants to the Tupperville School Museum Society to assist with capital upgrades to the building and grounds in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,200 from the 2021 Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Upper Clements and District Community Association to assist with continued repairs to the roof, fascia, and soffit in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, Councillor Morrison.
I just want to point out that when folks read the background paper supplied by Nancy, you'll see that it's involved what we'll call normal community activities, but there's another activity there that performs a very valuable service to our area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,400 from the 2021 Capital Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Three Rivers Community Association to assist with replacement and installation of a new countertop and sink in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, who got in early. That was good. All in favor, any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $438.44 from the 2021 Community Programs Assistance Fund to the Navy League of Canada, Cornwallis branch to assist with the purchase of sports attire for the local Sea Cadets unit in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. Councillor LeBlanc.
Well, they're not going to have anything going on this summer, are they?
Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. This refers to the local Sea Cadet organization, not the National HMCS Acadia Camp.
Yes, however, okay.
The
Nancy?
cadet unit, the sports attire that they're referring to in this application is to support sports competitions and training throughout the school year. So this primarily will be used on weekends away, going to like the Greenwood Cup Challenge if they have it this year, training for different competitions. And the gear that they need is not supported by D&D.
I don't agree. I'm just saying I was wondering if they'd even be able to compete this year. With the,
Everything, yeah, it's all up in the air. But sooner or later, whenever their operations resume, they'll need the equipment.
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor Sheridan.
They actually asked for $500 in their app.
Okay, so
Oh, they requested 500. Why? But then why in that case such a specific alternate figure to be provided?
They asked for $500. However, when I looked at their budget and reviewed it in accordance with our policies, the total
50%.
cost of their purchase was $876.88. Unfortunately, I have to recommend strictly to the policy. However, it's up to council if you wish to fund the full 500.
Well, I always like seeing those specific figures, and I'm delighted to this particular specific figure was there because of your attention to detail in the policy. Thank you, Nancy. Further discussion of this? Councillor Sheridan?
So that's what was my question was going to be in that regard, because I do recall seeing the $500. So if I could make a motion to raise that to 500, if that's okay.
Well, there's a motion currently on the floor. You can make a motion to amend.
Okay, can I make a motion to amend to
amend?
500? To $500?
Do we have a seconder for the motion to amend? Seconded by Councillor Gunn. All right. Discussion on the motion to amend on the amendment, going with the $500 figure. All right. All in favor of the motion to amend, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. And on the core motion itself, in that case, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Oh, John?
Just looking at this and just reminding council what they spoke about when you're funding leagues or specific groups for sports activity. It's not something that you've done, but what you did discuss at a previous meeting, and you asked us to move towards a policy. We haven't created the policy yet, but council can make a policy by resolution, is that you will fund certain things under certain categories for people under age 18 to support, because that's what some communities used to do. And we were going to establish a policy on that. So I think it's okay, but typically this is not something that you fund, but the cadets would be under the age of 18, and you're trying to support that type of youth activity. And it's not, you can't support every team that asks for t-shirts or every team that asks for equipment. It's just not something that can occur. This one here, because it's cadets, it's likely going to be shared amongst, more than 800 possible people over the run of a summer. So I see it as having a greater event than just a local team or something of that nature. But keep in mind, this is typically not something that the county has funded in the past. We are working on a policy to look at supporting high performance or unique activities for people under the age 18.
Thank you for that, John. Appreciate that. And I appreciate that the
So-
policy is being developed. Councillor LeBlanc?
So these t-shirts are only for 18, not to be shared, isn't it?
Nancy?
Well, if somebody else was playing the sport, could they wear the sports shirt? That's a question I have.
Yeah,
I-
that's,
The t-shirts are going to be for the local Sea Cadet unit in Cornwallis. I would suspect they will buy bulk. They have about 26 to 30 kids in their unit right now. So they'll probably try to outfit all of them with their own.
So this is very much more specifically
They
providing
will
uniforms
be
for
shared.
one team.
one team.
That's the complication of it. I'm not sure if that's something that we've been permitted to fund historically. And I'm quite certain that it's been denied in the past. Although I think when we're looking at unique activities for people under age 18, could we support equipment? Could we support stuff like that? I think you could. The t-shirts is a personal item that someone gets to keep. That's typically what normally doesn't happen in these grant circumstances. But perhaps the equipment's and the t-shirts, if the total budget's what they have, that the 500 can go towards equipment, something of that nature. That way it's more shared more than one person, and it sort of meets the definition of supporting your community in that sense, as opposed to individuals.
Councillor LeBlanc?
And we have done that before, where we have bought soccer balls. Was it soccer, or it was some different things that we bought equipment, but didn't really specifically buy jerseys.
That's correct. The jerseys were donated by a local company, and you guys helped fund benches for the soccer fields.
Where you might see where people keep a shirt is, let's say, for example, somebody's hosting an event. Let's say the Special Olympics is hosting the Special Olympics in the county. Well, all the organizers would have to wear the same color shirt, so everybody there knows who to go to for the event information and whatnot. So everybody wears the same shirt. That helps for the activity to occur. And so in that circumstance, you can see where people would be given a shirt in order for the event to flow properly and people know who to go to. Typically, an individual t-shirt's not something that happens. That's all. And that's the only thing in this application that I was a little bit concerned.
Councillor McNeil?
I agree.
Yeah, I think my opinion on this is this falls under a healthcare category as far as I'm concerned, because that's for these kids to attend events that are health related, sports related. And in my opinion, I don't have an issue with it. I think this is a healthy thing, and I don't have an issue with it, period.
Okay. Councillor Gunn?
It's t-shirts for an individual group to attend sports activities, which falls under health.
It does. It does. I think what John was speaking to is the fact that we haven't done it before, and the fact that it also does potentially establish a precedent, because we have an awful lot of organizations that invest annually or semi-annually in jerseys or t-shirts or things of this nature. So the question is, how many such requests are liable to come in? Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. I think it basically is just a bit of a clerical error, where, it's the t-shirt should have been just called sports equipment. Right? And it would have been covered.
Can't hear.
Oh, sorry. The t-shirts, it was more of a clerical error, really. The t-shirts should have been referred to as sports equipment, because essentially.
Nancy, do you know for sure if the t-shirts are staying with the individual cadets, or if they're going back into the pool and being reallocated year after year? Because that's what happens with soccer teams usually. They're all collected at the end of a season and then redistributed the following year until they're worn out.
I'm not sure, but I can certainly find out and get back to you.
Given that there may be some question about our ability to do this, Should we refer this back? Should we refer this back to staff just for a bit of clarification so we're sure we're on firm footing? Councillor Henry?
A couple, well, it's been quite a while ago now. We turned down the robotics team that was going to a competition because of this same sort of thing. I think that's where we asked the CAO to look into that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we've ever completely decided on that. So with that said, I think we need to
This is
make sure we're
for
on solid footing with all of this.
This isn't equipment or uniforms for a competition of any sort. It is actually for them to do sports training and physical fitness activities.
Right.
Yeah, and completely worthy. There's no question. It's the sort of thing I'd love to invest in. My only worry is it's a new field, and it's if we do provide funding for this, how many similar requests will we have to entertain, because we're establishing precedent, and I don't want to pick and choose between groups. Councillor McNeil?
And I think this one's a little bit different because with a lot of the soccer teams and a lot of rest of the others, we already invest money with, for instance, the town of Annapolis, as far as their soccer field goes there, with Lawrencetown, with Bridgetown, with we already provide money to those facilities. And in this case here, for those kids, we're not providing any money for those facilities of theirs.
Understood. Okay. Further thoughts, folks? If
I'm
anyone,
giving
yes.
them the money. I'm all in for the.
If I may make a suggestion, I think you could allocate $500 to support demonstrations on physical activity and give the money on that basis.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That works for me.
Yeah.
That works for me.
And equipment.
Yeah. All right. In that case, further discussion? All in favor of the motions? I'm sorry, Deputy Warden?
I thought it was already passed.
Yeah, your
Oh, I'm
motion's
sorry.
already been
Sorry,
called.
it's already been, I'm sorry. Losing track of things. Okay, Deputy Warden.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the 2021 Community Program Assistance Fund to the Age Advantage Association to assist with their What Lies Beneath 3D visualization project in accordance with 1.4.9 community grants policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion of the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $25,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Pledge Grant to the King's Theatre Society to assist with infrastructure upgrades, including roof repair, efficiency upgrades, green energy, lighting, technology, strategic planning, and marketing in accordance with AM-1.4.9 community grants policy.
That was seconded by Councillor Henning. Discussion of the motion. And I'm just curious right off the bat, how much green energy producing technology can you purchase as a component of a relatively modest grant? Deputy Warden, then Councillor McNeil.
So my understanding, if this includes strategic planning and marketing, then they would not be entitled to apply for the new grant that we created last year.
Nancy?
When I met with the manager, Janet, most of the contribution from municipal council will go towards the infrastructure upgrades. And she is expecting to put together a plan for you for a possible application next year. But the way that she looked at it, if I was to summarize, was they need to fix the building more importantly right now. But she wanted to let you know that they were thinking strategically ahead and they have future plans and they are planning things. Most of the money that they've asked for this year, if you look at their budget that they approved, that they put in the application, is for infrastructure. And technology.
Deputy Warden? Further?
No, no.
Okay. I'm going to go to Councillor McNeil.
Yeah, I think King's Theater is a good thing, but I have a problem too, though. Situated in the town of Annapolis Royal, anything that we have areas like Annapolis Royal doesn't provide funding for theaters outside of that area. And I guess that's why I have an issue with it. And in that vein, I won't be voting for this matter. So that's all I could say.
Thank you.
I believe we're contributing $5,000 to the project.
How much?
5,000?
I thought it was 25.
Councillor Hemming.
Yeah, Janet's been very specific. I don't know how many times that almost 90% of the people that attend that theater are from the county. I think this grant is critical in terms of, because I think there's some matching grants that could be expected from this. And the more especially COVID, it has really reminded me that in climate change, that it's absolutely critical to begin to create a new narrative, a new social and cultural narrative. That's only going to happen through these theaters. And to me, it's more like a community hall, that this is an essential venue to try and experiment with a new narrative through song, story, and dance. And that's where it's going to happen. And 90% of the people that come in that door live in the county, not the town. So I think that needs to be, we need to give that a lot of weight. Because I think if the building was over in Cornwallis or some other place, specifically in the county, I don't think we would have as much trouble with it. I just don't want to penalize them because that facility is in the town. Thank you.
And it suggests at the same time that a lot of the programming that's done there is, a lot of which involves children, is done for the benefit of county residents, children, just as it is for residents of the town. And when we were actually looking for property in Nova Scotia and researching, we really knew very little about the province in terms of what was actually where. One of the factors that did weigh on our decision to come to this area is the fact there were 2 live theaters in the area. But this is a rural area that has access to the sorts of services and sorts of programming that normally you could only find in a city. And I thought it was such a remarkable thing. There were 2 live theaters located within the general area of the county. That was one of the things that drew us as people who immigrated to Annapolis County, to the county.
If I might.
Yes, Councillor McNeil, please.
I don't deny that 90% of that is probably people from the county that goes there. My issue with it is that we gain nothing from it. Yes, people from the county do. People that go to Evergreen Theater over there in Martinsville, there's probably 100% county representation there, but nobody puts any money in there but us. So I don't think it's that because it's in Annapolis, but my thought was because it is in Annapolis, then Annapolis has got to be ponying up because they're the ones that are getting the advantage out of this. Some of our residents are getting an advantage, but Annapolis Royal is getting the tax revenue and everything else. And that's what I have with it. That's my problem with it. It's not that the people from the county go there or don't go there. That part's immaterial to me. It's that when we have here, we have probably 100% representation is county in Margaretville. And with no help from anybody else. No help from Middleton, no help from Annapolis, no help from Kings County. So that's my issue. And anyway.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc, then Councillor Prout, then Councillor Gunn.
Well, I see that the problem is we're putting it under restructural grant. Is that the same grant we were given to? Is that where this money is going to be coming from, Nancy?
No, it's going to come from your capital projects, large capital pledge grants, because
All
the
right.
money is primarily for infrastructure and technology upgrades to the building.
Okay, but in their ask, they're not saying just
That's correct. It's a big project, but the money they're going to focus on from municipal council will be to fix the building this year.
All right.
And you look at the budget they provided after their
Yes.
application form, it'll outline all of the.
I see that. Yeah, I see that. There's a lot of money needed to get it going and refurbished and whatever. I'm for a lot for the theater, but I'm thinking the problem lies that I know most of the county would go there. Most of probably that visit there is from the county. So if you said that, I thought I heard that you said that Annapolis Royal provides $5,000.
That's what they've indicated on their budget, yes.
Right, exactly. So let's just say 3/4 of the people are ours. So it would put us, why are we at 25,000? Maybe we could provide them with less. Would that work? I would say, I don't think that they should be shut out because they need help. And it is a good service and they provide a lot of entertainment and good bands and good music and etc. So I'm thinking maybe it appears the number is high, so maybe we could provide it at a lower number and get them started at least if that's the problem. Thank you.
Councillor Proud.
Thank you. Councillor Hemming's points, they're valid, they're true, but that's a pretty heavy lift for the county when we are being asked to help ground search and rescue, the Middleton Hospital. There are so many things and places for money to go. I certainly would support funds for the theater in another year. What if we looked at matching Annapolis Royal's contribution? It's something, it's a start, but we don't put all of our sparse number of eggs in that basket at this time. That's my thought.
Okay. All right. Councillor Gunn.
He's muted.
Oh, yes, he's unmuted.
There we go. The town does own the building. And now that building's had quite a lot of work done to it through the years. I know because a few years ago, I put a whole new base underneath it. Where what it stands on, we put there a few years ago. And I know it wasn't that many years ago when they put a new roof on. I also know that they put all new windows in the front. What I do know as well is that they're looking to rewire it, put electric or solar panels on the roof of it, a new roof. And they're looking for a lot of money, just not the $25,000 from Annapolis County. You know, they're looking for, $400,000 in total, but mostly from the feds. So, you know, they're looking for this grant to do some work this year by the looks of it to get started. I know a lot of people from the area use it, mostly from the county. Actually, not a lot of people from Annapolis. A few, you know, people that just moved there last few years. I put it over there. But you know, it's a theater. They own it. It's always going to need a lot of work. $25,000 is a lot of money this year. I'd have to think hard about that. Thank you.
John, you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah, I just, we established a policy around the time period that the Exhibition Association applied for funding last year, where they would apply for capital. And people were looking to have operational money, increase a budget where they'd have a base operational amount. And that's not something typically the municipality funds. They don't fund operational matters for organizations. Typically, they can fund strategic planning and matters that make their organization work better or find new ways that they can make more revenue or something of this nature that builds the capacity of the organization. And we've taken that approach with the Exhibition Association, and we recognize some key associations or community organizations that impact a greater extent than other organizations. So there may be some people doing festivals and whatnot, but really the exhibition is the main one each summer that I think is the biggest draw in the county. I could be mistaken, but that's the perception I have. And the difference with the theater in Annapolis Royal is it's the only licensed exhibitor for your Hollywood. So your Hollywood movies. So if you have a new movie coming out that's in what they call the A category theaters, then Annapolis Royal has the ability to get those movies because they have an exhibitor's license. I don't think there's our other exhibitors' licenses in Annapolis County, because if you want to go see a movie, you have to go to New Minas or you have to go to Yarmouth. Typically. Greenwood has right, but that's not in the county. So Greenwood is in Kings County. So Annapolis Royal is the only one that's doing that. Now, they came in and they spoke about a lot of things this year when they came in to present council, and some of what they feel that they're experiencing some difficulties. And what we told them at that time was that they could apply for capital support. We spoke about what we did with the Exhibition Association in Lawrencetown, and we said that they could get some money to help them with strategic planning. Now, typically strategic planning doesn't come out of the capital budget. So that's a good point I think that you made, Nancy, is that that's really a follow-up for next year. So if they're strictly asking for capital this year, it's not out of line with what they came to talk to us about and what we told them that they could apply. And so they felt that the next couple of years are critical for them. As a matter of fact, even beyond that. And they came in, we had a hunch that they'd be seeking significant capital support from that discussion. And you have the ability, but I would strictly stay with this one here in the confines of capital of what you're providing, and be specific to them when you give it to them. It can only be used for capital or capital equipment.
All right, Deputy Warden.
And I agree, like King Theater it's an economic kind of driver for Annapolis Royal, because people do not only go there to use the theater, they shop, they eat, you know, they go through the little shops. It's kind of like a little tourist attraction, and a lot of people use the King's Theater, and I totally agree. And I mean, I'm all in support of supporting them, but then you look on the other side of it, and something that has as much attraction to the town of Annapolis Royal, and they're only willing to contribute $5,000. I mean, to me, that's an attraction to their town, and it should be valued by the town. And I don't mind supporting them, but I do believe that it attracts a lot of people to the town. And $5,000, I'll match their $5,000. I mean, I'm even willing to go with, I would make a motion to give them 15.
Do you want to ask Annapolis Royal to match it? Then they'd end up with the same amount of money.
The thoughts. So to provide 15 and suggest or request that Annapolis Royal
match it.
Match that contribution. Okay.
Yes.
I agree.
It should be valued.
I've got Councillor Morrison, then Councillor Hemming, and then Councillor Fowler. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald, do you want to be on the list as well?
Yeah.
I just adore King's Theater. I adore what the people do. It's run almost all by volunteers. Over the course of a number of months, there's always something for everybody. The points made by my colleagues have been 100% valid. I am in favor of the amount that was asked, but I'm quite willing to consider in a positive way a lesser amount. With regard to the contribution from the town of Annapolis Royal, I would like to know what form that will take. I was at a meeting last year sometime with representatives of municipalities from Digby County and Annapolis County. And the question was asked by the chair of the meeting to the representatives of the various municipalities. You're asking me for money. How much money have you put into this? And the answer from the mayor of Annapolis Royal was, we have put in this amount of money, which we have calculated to be the cost of the service on the board of directors of the project. In other words, there was no actual cash put forward. So it would be interesting to find out. Second, if we decide to give an amount, I would like someone to speak with the administration of King's Theatre to ensure that the county receives due acknowledgement of what it is we're going to give. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Henning.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if revenue comes into Annapolis County, it really helps into Annapolis, or it really helps Annapolis County. You know, they need money to do, and they want to move forward with this because right now the theater is closed. It's a primary time to do construction and renovation. But the thing that, with all the discussion, what I'm most enamored with is that theater in particular is extremely experimental in how they engage a community to solve problems. They're in the midst of putting together a real serious list of films, discussions on climate change within the county. That's the only place that dialogue is going to happen. And that's absolutely critical in terms of changing attitudes on how we respond to climate change or the virus or everything. It's those experimental theaters that can do that. So I can't stress enough that there is a niche that they follow and they fill that's absolutely critical to what we want to do in terms of our strategy as a municipality. So if we want to give, but the idea of Annapolis Royal just doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, the reality of the situation. So if we make it, and I tell you, Mayor McDonald, I mean, I think, I have no reason to know this for sure, but if there was any way for them to give more money because of the mayor's real interest in music, that they would have done that. But I would, I would make an amendment that we give them 15,000.
So move to amend the motion to $15,000 by Councillor Henning.
Yes.
Seconder for the amendment. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the amendment itself. Councillor McDonald.
You forgot me.
And I got you.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. I remember a few years ago in my district, Margarettsville Theater, Evergreen Theater in East Margarettsville, they asked for the same sum of money, and right away there was a hesitation. Right, it's the max amount, I believe, for this type of thing, and we gave them a lesser amount, and the world still spun, and to this day it's still open, and I'm okay with a lesser amount. It doesn't matter to me what Annapolis Royal does or doesn't do. A lot of our tax dollars that we're allocating today come from residents that frequent that establishment. It's their tax money, right? We manage it, and I'm okay with the 15 amount.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor LeBlanc next, and then Councillor Fowler.
Okay, I'm on the same level as Councillor McDonald. If we provide them the $15,000, which is a lesser amount, it has nothing to do with what we want the town to do. It's not going to be, we will give you 15,000. We'll give you 15 if they give you 15. I think my understanding was we will give you $15,000 and maybe you can ask Annapolis, the mayor of Annapolis Royal to contribute more. That's the only way I see it. I don't think we're putting a contingency of if we will do this if somebody else does that. Because I don't think that should be part of any motion as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, Councillor or Deputy Warden Roberts made a motion, and I was willing to support that and see if Annapolis would do the same, and I'd be willing to do that, but I'm not willing to go to 15.
Okay, all right. Just as a question for me, is there any possibility of us providing some support in kind to the theater as well? Some of what they're doing is going to involve physical work and construction. Our operation is slowed right now. Is this something that we could assist with? And is there a chance we could provide a measure of support by a different mechanism?
Actually, most of our employees that are permitted under employment union agreements are fully at work right now.
Fully at work.
Many activities. There could be an opportunity down the road, but I'd have to discuss it with the municipal operations. I do want to just go back and help council, just always reflecting on the times that we're in. And we're in very difficult times. People aren't going to the theater right now. So if there's an opportunity for it to keep its legs under its operations and get some capital work done, I think this is the time for them. And keep that in mind, that I think there may be other opportunities to partner up with other funding. But a lot of organizations are struggling now, and anything that we can do to keep their equipment or their technology up and running, I think goes a long way for those organizations.
All right. Further discussion. Remember, this is on the amendment as opposed to on the core motion. All right. All those in, Councillor Proud? Yes.
I could support 15.
Okay, thank you.
So read the amendment, please, before we vote.
It's just to amend the amount provided from 25,000 to 15,000.
There you go. Thank you.
Wasn't that amendment pending on Annapolis Royal matching?
There wasn't any contingency mentioned, was there, Councillor Henning? Councillor Henning?
There was not.
But a request.
It was discussed, but it's not in the motion.
Yeah. Okay. All right, further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Can we make an amendment to that amendment?
I think you're allowed to go too deep when necessary. What's your suggestion, Councillor Gunn?
Well, depending on Annapolis Royal matching it.
So you would like to make it contingent?
Yes, contingent on Annapolis Royal matching it.
Okay, all right. Do we have a seconder for that amendment? Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on that. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. For a number of reasons, I will not support that amendment.
Councillor Henning.
Yeah, and I will not support that either, mainly because it'll be dead in the water. I mean, to try and force them into putting in more money, I just think if we do that, well, yeah, I'm not going to support that motion. But
I'm going to comment briefly, and then I'm going to turn it over to John. Councillor LeBlanc, do you want to list as well?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to just very quickly, I'm not going to support the amendment, partly because it suggests that our willingness to support a community initiative and a community service doesn't depend upon the intrinsic value of that service to our municipality, but it depends on what somebody else is willing to do. It puts us sort of it's adversarial. I think that what the theater provides has true value in many, many ways to our residents. I think it's an economic driver for the region, not just for the town. I think the town receives the lion's share of the direct financial benefit of its operation. But culturally and socially, and in terms of the development of our community, I think it has profound value, and it's something that we should be supporting. And I don't like the notion of making our support contingent upon somebody else willing to pony up at the same extent. That's my feeling. John, and then Councillor LeBlanc.
Yeah, when I raised the matter, didn't want it to come across that way. I'd have to go back and see exactly what I said, but I think you should ask them. I don't think it should be contingent on it. I think you should ask them.
Yeah.
And it's up to them. Let them make the discretionary decision, but just say, look, we're giving 15,000. We'd like to send, we could send a letter, say, look, we're going to donate 15,000. We'd like you to consider matching what we're donating and see if they do it. No pressure in the sense, but ask them. And it would be nice to see both municipalities supporting as best they can with what they have. But I don't think it hurts to ask.
Okay.
And I think that's something that,
Agreed. It never hurts to ask. Councillor LeBlanc?
And that was my point all along. And it shouldn't be us asking Annapolis Royal to do it. It should be, we are giving you X amount of dollars. Maybe you could ask Annapolis Royal to match our dollars, period.
Okay.
So we don't have, I'm not going to repeat everything you said, Timothy, because I started with that. You don't want to start with, we're doing this, so if you don't do this, then da-da-da. That's not what we want for our citizens. We want them to be provided with the best entertainment and quality that's out there. And they're part of it, and we want to be part of it as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone further? Okay, on the amendment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
So this
Oh, this is on the amendment to the amendment.
Wait.
This is
May
on-
I read these out loud?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please.
So the original motion was made in the amount of 25,000. Then Councillor Hemming moved, seconded by Councillor McDonald to amend the motion to change the amount to 15,000. Councillor Gunn then moved, seconded by Councillor Fowler, to amend the amendment to add contingent on Annapolis Royal matching the 15,000. So right now you're at amending the amendment to adding contingent on Annapolis Royal matching the 15,000.
So this is on the condition. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Okay. So the nays prevail in that case. So then on the initial amendment, which is to change the dollar figure from 25,000 to 15,000, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay. Nay.
Nay, recorded.
I'd like mine recorded too, please. And now on the core motion.
Hold a
Oh
minute,
yes, I'll wait for you. Yes. So on
Who was the recorded nays? I'm sorry.
Myself
McNeil.
and Councillor McNeil,
Thank you.
and then now on the and Councillor Fowler, do you want to speak?
No,
voted nay as well.
Oh, you voted nay. Okay, all right.
I had three nay votes and 2 requested to be recorded. Is that correct?
Yes.
I
believe.
record, yeah, I would.
Yes. Okay.
Forward.
All right. And now on the Councillor Fowler, are you asking to have your name recorded as well?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thanks very much. And now on the motion as amended. So now this is the motion to provide the grant of $15,000. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay, recorded.
Okay. Motion's carried. Thank you very much, folks. Let's go on to our next one.
Okay. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $900 from the 2021 Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Centerley Community Club to assist with repairing and reshingling the community hall roof in accordance with AM 1.4.9 community grant policy.
seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $500 to the Annapolis County Federation of Agriculture in accordance with AM-1.4.11 Community Contribution Grants Policy, pending policy requirements are submitted.
All right, seconder for the motion, seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion. Nancy, you wanted to clarify something right off the bat?
You're muted.
You're muted, Nancy.
There you go.
Did you say $500, Deputy Warden?
Yes, I did.
Oh, it was supposed to read for the Federation of Agriculture?
It should be 16,000.
16,000.
It should read 16,000 from the large capital pledge grants.
Federation of
So
Agriculture.
it's a typo in the summary sheet. Is that what it is?
So the summary sheet has it correct at 16,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
And
I've got, and it's in the package at 16,000 as well.
Yeah, I think you might be reading the annual contribution amount. RFD number 14, it should stay at the top.
This is a large capital grant.
In the package that I printed off with all the motions in it, that's what I have, $500.
Yeah, that's because
It's
that's what I have in my minutes set up.
Okay, so however, but the correct figure for which they're actually applying is 16,000. So that's an
Okay.
error that's crept in there somehow.
The Schedule A has it at $500.
Oh, does it? Okay.
It does, yeah.
So it's an error that's crept in.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's 16,000.
16,000.
Yes, their total project cost is $18,260 and they're requesting municipal council of $16,000.
Okay. So that's the corrected figure. I forget who our seconder was. Are you all right? Are you all right with still providing a second for this? Yes, good. All right. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the 2021 Trails Assistance Program to the Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition to assist with continued trail maintenance and repair for trails located in Annapolis County in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $5,700 from the 2020 large capital grants to the Margarettsville Shore Society to assist with the shoreline parking and service program in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Did we skip one?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yes.
You
I
did?
think we missed RFD number 16, which is the Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition grant application.
We just did that.
No,
That's
there's two.
Trail
There's one
Society.
above it.
There's the Trail Society and the Trail Coalition.
Both for the same amount.
Yeah, both the same amount. The two different organizations.
Can we stick with the Shore Society right now, though, please?
Oh, all right. Has that been moved and seconded?
It was moved. You were just.
Don't think we've had a seconder for it yet, but
McDonald.
seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion.
Sorry, where is that one? What page is that one?
That would be
212, I think.
okay. Councillor LeBlanc.
If my understanding is correct, this is to place equipment and repairs on a piece of land owned by Irving that they're renting? Do I get that right?
That's the way I took it.
It's Nancy, okay.
Their request is to actually help pay for the lease with Irving. It's a parking lot. They want to provide extra parking for visitors and residents to explore the shoreline project they've been working on for several years. So the funding request is focused on the leasing expenses for the property that's actually owned by Irving Oil.
Just for clar- I think there's a couple of questions that are going to come in on this. Councillor LeBlanc, the floor is still yours. I've got Councillor Morrison, Councillor Sheridan, and the Deputy Warden in queue as well. But I'm just curious, if you're an organization that pays rent, is that considered, that can't be considered a capital expense, it's an operational expense.
Yeah.
That's where I was getting at. So I'll leave it to.
John, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say it's an operational expense, but they certainly would qualify for the porta potties, and if they had to clear or level out the parking lot or something of that nature, they could qualify for that.
Right, okay. Councillor Morrison.
I can't imagine the lease payment being very much. I would imagine that Irving's probably.
The lease agreement was $700. However, I specifically put that line in there because they actually put it in their application, so I didn't want to speak on their behalf.
Of course.
They actually said that the application was focused on the lease expenses. So that could be considered, like you said, the parking signage. They also want to do a property cleanup and 2 portable toilets as well, if you look at their budget.
Okay, but 700 of it in that case is specifically for the actual payment of the lease itself?
Yes.
So an option before council would be to reduce the amount being provided to 4,300 in order to stay on the correct side of the policy. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I'll pass.
Thank you. Councillor Sheridan.
No, my question was answered. Thank you.
Deputy Warden.
So we would reduce that to 5,000 instead of 7,500 or 5,700.
Yes. Yes. Councillor McNeil.
Yeah, where is this?
I know exactly where it is. So at, Haddock Alley, the road down to the wharf where it meets Seaman Street.
The road down to where, John? I'm sorry.
To the wharf at Margaretville. It's where it comes off Seaman Street. It's called Haddock Alley or something.
Oh, that's where the old storage tanks were?
And then across the road and next door to the post office are several acres owned by Irving. Right there. Right there. And they've been talking to Irving for a couple of years and finally they're giving in and allowing the community to use it. Apparently they're gonna charge them $700 for a lease.
Okay.
But is that the Wharf Society or the Trails Coalition? What are we on here?
Margaretville Shore Society. It's because we inadvertently skipped one. We're going to go back to the Trails Coalition in a minute. So this is the Margaretville Shore Society grant application.
It's the Shore Society. And so last year, remember, we gave them money to upgrade the wharf, and then when ACOA heard that, they gave them a bigger bag of money, and all that work is done. It's amazing. Whenever you're burning around, drive by. They got a lot of work done for their buck, and they're looking to expand on that. Right?
Yeah, and I think we should support that expansion. Deputy Warden.
So I will move for an amendment to be made that we allow $5,000 to the Margaretville Shore Society.
Okay, seconder
for capital purposes.
For
That's
capital
right. And
purposes.
so that removes that operational expense from the grant.
Right.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying, Councillor Gunn, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you tell me what page we're on?
We are on page 212.
212. Thank you.
So we skipped ahead. We're going to go back in a minute to the previous one. Okay. All right. All right. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now on the core motion itself, as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. And now back to the Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition grant, which is on page, I can't even read that.
206, I think.
206.
But on my sheet, it's next.
Okay. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the 2021 Trails Assistance Program to the Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition to assist with continuing trail maintenance and repair for trails located in Annapolis County in accordance with 1.4.9 community grant policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Gunn. Go ahead.
Thank you. One more time, looking for clarification.
Sure.
We have Annapolis County Trail Society, and then we have the other one, the Annapolis, or the TAVT Coalition, Trails Coalition. Which trails are they looking after? Are they the railway trail? Are they one end, the other end of it?
I can clarify that if you like. Annapolis
Thank
County
you.
Trail Society actually oversees the management of the Annapolis County section of the Harvest Moon Trailway. So they do that and they get capital funding. So in this year, they've actually asked for 10,000. We committed 5 recently. The Annapolis Valley Trails Association Coalition oversees the marketing and the development as well. So consistent signages, kiosks, condition of the trail and what have you, work very closely with organizations such as the Annapolis County Trail Society and many others in Kings County, because that runs all the way from Annapolis Royal west or east to Grand Prairie. And that is also our contribution supports a Trails Coalition coordinator, which is Rick Jakes. So it's an ongoing contribution. They have asked for the last 3 years to increase our fee for that from 5,000 to 8,000, but that's a council decision. Staff can only recommend 5 based on the policy. So they work very complementary, and it's a big service because they spend $149,000 in terms of contributions to the trail. Not all in Annapolis County, but I'd say a good portion of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Gunn. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Councillor McNeil, go ahead.
Yeah, so Deborah, what you're saying is if Rick Jakes does work here in Annapolis County, the Annapolis County Trail Society doesn't pay that?
No, that's offered by the Trails Coalition. So the ACTS, Annapolis County Trails Society, which is Danny Finney, he works with Rick, and Rick does a lot of work with Danny's group. And it's very much, they still have to apply for funds to get capital, because as you can see, one group is spending 42,000 and the other one 149. Does that answer your question?
Who's paying 42?
Well, that's the capital budget for the Annapolis County Trail Society for improvements to that section.
For Annapolis County section.
For the Annapolis County section. But when you say the Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition, it also includes other things in promoting and support to other trail groups, not only in Annapolis County,
Oh,
but
yeah,
King.
no, I know, yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
And the Trails Coalition does pay for the consistency, all the marketing, all the signage, and when it's replaced, when it's down, and they actually go out and actually clear the trail. So when last year during after the hurricane, I think they must have spent a week just in Annapolis County taking down all the trees. But it is a joint venture, and it's kind of symbiotic, if you might say. They do it together and collectively. Very strong organization.
All right. Further discussion, folks? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,000 from the 2021 Community Program Assistance Fund to the AVRCE, Annapolis Valley Farm to School Committee, to assist with the Farm to School Snack Program in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. Deputy Warden.
Well, this is supporting a snack program in schools, and I can recall for several years, I've asked about the council supporting breakfast programs in school, and we had no mechanism for it. So how does this qualify?
We've been supporting this particular initiative for some time. This isn't the first time this has come to us. How many years have we been supporting this for, Nancy?
I could look it up, but I'm thinking of,
2 years.
I will look it up for you though.
Yeah.
I think it started in 2017 or 18.
I think so too. Yes, at least 3.
Okay,
Well-
let's see. Go ahead, Deputy Warden. The floor is still yours. I'll go to John afterwards to comment. Go ahead. Deputy
Well,
Warden.
then I guess I don't understand when we were talking about breakfast programs, why we didn't support them.
I think that, is that before my time? Because I
No.
can't imagine ever opposing supporting a breakfast program. Or I can't imagine ever opposing a breakfast program. John, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, just part of the healthy snacks, it's about healthy, active living and healthy eating. So it was really about combining the two, healthy eating, health and healthy active living. There was a federal program that partnered with many provinces around Canada on the work with recreation and sport, working with schools to deal with healthy eating and healthy active living. So they started some programs. So with that, some municipalities may have been involved and some provincial governments may have been involved, but they were trying to tie the two together. And I think that was really the foundation, how it got into the schools through our recreation departments, is because of its relationship with Sport Canada.
Councillor LeBlanc and then Councillor Gunn.
Well, I think John covered it on actually, as far as explaining how it got in. It did go into recreation, whereas the breakfast program did not.
It also, if you remember, when council approved their economic development strategy,
Yes.
they talked about local produce, local.
Right.
So the idea was to source locally for
Yes.
local healthy eating as well. So it fit into our economic development piece. It tied in the schools, and it also tied in active living.
Councillor Gunn?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is a great program because, you know, a lot of kids, it's the only time they ever get to eat fresh vegetables. And that is when they go to school for these kind of things. I'm for it 100%. You know, they get fresh peas, they get beans, they get peppers, they get all kinds of things brought into them. And, you know, as I say, some of the only vegetables some of those kids eat. Thank you.
That's right. If you've ever been at one of the school, I'll be at the Bridgetown Regional Community School on occasion for one reason or another over lunchtime. And you'll see the principal and the teachers walking around with baskets of fruit and offering fresh fruit to any child who wants them. And this sort of program and the breakfast program that are in place, I just know from my daughter's accounts of what they observe in the school, there's an awful lot of children who are very dependent upon those two programs in order to have healthy food to eat on a regular basis. And I want to be doing everything we possibly can to be supportive of this for certain. Deputy Warden.
And I'm in full support of it, but it just kind of made me question, because I knew that we had talked about a breakfast program. And I wondered why we could support this and we didn't support a breakfast program. That's all. I mean, I'm in total support of it. There is a lot of children out there that do need this, and I'm very happy to give them $2,000.
I've got a vague recollection in my first year as a counselor, which would be almost 8 years ago, of the breakfast program and the fact that the municipality wasn't funding it being discussed way back then as something that had already happened, but I don't remember it being raised again since, because I certainly would have wanted to push to find a way to make that happen. And if we had that opportunity, I think we should move on it. Nancy, yes.
You've been supporting this program for the last 2 fiscal years. This will be the 3rd year if you approve the motion.
Thank you, appreciate that. Anything further? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. All right.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Pledge Grant to the Round Hill and District Recreation Commission to assist with the Bishop Park Playground and Basketball Court in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Second for the motion. Second by
McNeil.
Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. Deputy Warden.
And when we did travel back to Annapolis back and forth, I drove by that park a lot. And it's quite a park. They've done a lot of work to it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,400 from the 2021 Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Paradise Community Hall to assist with the replacement of their oil tank in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Hemming. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $20,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Pledge Grants to the Annapolis Valley Exhibition Society to assist with upgrades to infrastructure grounds and signage for the exhibition grounds in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $6,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Grants to the Middleton and District Rink Commission to assist with a new cement pad for Olympia and Rink Shed and replacement of water and sewer lines in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,055 from the 2021 Community Programs Assistance Fund to the Lawrencetown and Area Seniors Association to assist with seniors' health and fitness classes in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,500 from the 2021 Marketing and Promotions Partnership Program to the Heart of the Valley Festival to assist with celebration events during the festival in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Second for the motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Sheridan.
So have they canceled that yet, Nancy?
Actually, I did print off the latest email. I figured you would ask a few questions about this one. So I asked Krista Toole, she's one of the organizers of the event, and I said, thank you for your application. I just would like an update of the festival. I'm sure Municipal Council will ask that question. She said, good morning, Nancy. We are trying to be optimistic and are hoping to still host the festival.
Wow.
We have had many discussions and feel the town and surrounding communities may need some celebrations once this is all over. We realize the festival may not look like it usually does, but we are hoping a few solid events for all to enjoy. She said we would appreciate any I may have, as we expect our usual and unable to this preview can get.
I think we only caught about one word in three of that, Nancy. There was a lot of distortion on the line. And I wonder if we muted some more people, there's a lot of people who are unmuted. I wonder if that'll clean up our audio a little bit. If you're not speaking right now and you don't mind, could you please mute yourselves? And I'll ask Nancy to try reading that again. I don't even know if they're related for sure, but it seems
Okay.
logical. Go ahead, Nancy.
Krista said they're trying to be optimistic to still host the festival. They've had many discussions and feel that the town and surrounding communities are going to need some celebrations once all this is over. We realize the festival may not look like it usually does. However, they are hoping that a few small activities and events can be planned. They would appreciate any updates and support, as they expect their other supporters are going to be impacted by this pandemic and will be unable to help as they have in previous years.
Thank you for that. Okay, further discussion or questions, folks? Councillor Sheridan.
So could we approve this pending if they are going to have it? Is that possible? Can we make an amendment to the motion to?
Yes, we certainly could. Would you like to make that? Would you like to make that amendment?
Yes, please.
So pending confirmation that the events will actually take place?
Correct. Thank you.
Okay. And that at least lets them budget for it, regardless.
That's right. Thank you.
All right. Seconder for the amendment, seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the amendment. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. Haven't we approved grants this afternoon and this morning for organizations that have already said they're not holding? And
those
we've,
sorry,
and we've approved their request. I don't understand the difference here.
I think the difference is that the organizations for which we approve requests, even though their events are not taking place this year, have infrastructure and ongoing operational expenses. And this organization, I don't believe, does. I think that it's a direct cash in, cash out for the actual event itself. So if the event doesn't take place, they don't have any paid staff. They don't have a physical premises to insure or to heat or anything like that. So I think it really is contingent upon whether or not the event's taking place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. All right, further on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. On the core motion itself, I have two more speakers. Councillor McNeil. Oh,
You're muted.
You're muted, Councillor.
Well, Wade keeps telling me that too, but anyway.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure where we were, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're on page 254.
No, I mean which part we were on, that's all.
Okay, understood.
No.
Okay. All right. Councillor LeBlanc.
So what are we voting on now?
So we're voting on providing the $2,500 grant to the Heart of the Valley Festival pending confirmation of the actual scheduling of the events. So that is, as long as it's going to really actually proceed, then we'll release the funds.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Wilmot Community Center. I move council approve a grant in the amount of $2,400 from the 2021 Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Wilmot Community Center to assist with roof repairs, purchase of chairs, tables, and gravel for the parking lot in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion. Second by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,200 from the 2021 Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Litchfield and Delatz Cove Community Hall Association to assist with the installation of a heat pump in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Second by Councillor Hemming. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $25,000 from the 2021 Large Capital Pledge Grants to the Trans-County Transportation Society to assist with the purchase and upgrade of a van to make wheelchair accessible in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Roberts. Or Deputy Warden, pardon me. Sorry.
Well, is this the same 25,000 that we were going to review in
budget
3 months?
Yeah, I thought this was one of those expenses that were planned to be reviewed every quarterly. Did we find additional space that we didn't know we had?
You're muted.
The organization was referred to me as another option to apply for the funding. They did not know for sure if council would in the future to fund the policy.
Okay, Deputy Warden, and then I'll go to Councillor Sheridan, and then Carolyn's going to weigh in as well. Go ahead, Deputy Warden. And then John.
I will move that we make an amendment to the motion to refer it to our 3 months review as it was previously voted on.
Okay, I'm going to be I'm going to go to staff quickly for clarification. Carolyn first, and then to John.
So at the beginning of the year, this was an ask that came in from Trans-County Transportation Society, and it was referred to the budget process. This is how it goes into the budget process, as it goes as a grant. So that's why it's in front of you. Discussions that happen later, John can probably.
John, you'd like to speak to this, please?
Yeah, so the Trans-County Transportation, they were seeking an increase on their 35,000 grant that we give them for operational matters. And that particular request is to add to the 35,000. So the 35,000 was approved under another section. This is a separate capital request. This is not the same as the request for the additional 25,000. And that's why the additional 25,000 on top of the 35 has not been considered. We said that we would look at that within the 3 month period and fund it if we could. We weren't going to commit to long-term funding, but we may provide funding in that particular area.
So the additional 25,000 that's pending for our quarterly review is an operational increase.
It relates to the $35,000 unconditional amount that we give them.
Okay.
Not the capital. We give them a capital amount that they apply for, but this one is for a van. This is specifically a capital request.
And actually, I do recall at the time that that it was mentioned that there were 2 outstanding requests for $25,000 coming in from Trans-County Transportation. One was operational, and the other one was capital. That's right. Councillor Sheridan.
So I guess I'm confused now because we had the Middleton Clinic, the Ground Search and Rescue, and Trans-County Transportation, but there was no mention of 2 for Trans-County Transportation that went on to the budget deliberation. So I'm still waiting to hear something from for the Middleton Clinic and Ground Search and Rescue, where Trans-County has already had 35,000 on their regular one approved, and then now they have this other 25 that was, I guess I'm totally confused on how many capital projects or the grants that they can receive.
I think the way it works is they receive annually, they receive $35,000.
And I understand that.
And this time they asked us to increase that base funding to, and I forget, it was more than 60, I think, but I'm not entirely certain. But anyway, they asked for us to increase their annual grant, which is an operational grant. And we couldn't find the money in the budget to do that. But they also had a separate capital request in for a van. And that was already being entertained in our grant system. I think that's what it is. So the request for the additional $25,000 in operational funding is one of those handful of requests that we'll be considering in our quarterly reviews. But this is a separate request.
Okay, because I didn't want to miss the opportunity for the Middleton Clinic or Ground Search and Rescue to apply for a grant but they're still pending, right? The
That's right.
Middleton Clinic and the Ground Search and Rescue and an additional one for Trans-County Transportation is all pending.
That's
Is this correct? Okay,
That's
I just
correct.
wanted to clarify that. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? There's no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next, Port Lorne.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,200 from the 2021 Community Hall Centers and Assistance Program in the Port Lorne Community Hall Association to assist with exterior painting of the Funday Hall in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
I move council approve a grant in the amount of $1,000 from the 2021 Communities Program Assistance Fund to the Annapolis County Cops and Kids Association to assist with program expenses for Wits and Leads anti-bullying program in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion. Oh, Deputy Warden.
I believe that this is an outstanding program, and our leader Adam Burns that does this is exceptional with the kids. It's a great program, and as far as I'm concerned, I think they deserve more than $1,000, but that's what they asked for.
That's right. Thank you,
I
Deputy
agree.
Warden.
I totally agree.
Further discussion? Nancy, yes?
For your information, Nadine and I have actually been working a lot more with Adam and hoping to get involved with the schools and collaborate with recreation as well and our programs. And he's wonderful. He's offered his services many times, especially for Bike Week and stuff like that as well. So I echo that. He's a great resource for the county.
Absolutely.
Yes, he
Absolutely.
is.
All right, Councillor McDonald.
He's also a basketball player.
Yes, he was.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to add to that too. He's quite a runner when the cops are after him too, right?
Good one, Bert.
I bet.
As a very young man.
Yes, Bert.
Thank you, everybody, for that. Thank you, Deputy Warden. That was a long list to go through. We do have a further item to discuss, and John's also waiting for attention. So go ahead, John.
Yeah, just one thing I noted here, just on the sheet that Nancy prepared, it shows 1.54 million, $1,547,130 in total project costs that are going on in the county with all the community organizations we're working with. And our contribution is roughly in the $200,000 range. So our $200,000 is going towards 1.5 million in actual projects. And I think that's very commendable of the volunteer organizations.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Excellent. All right, Councillor Fowler, you'd like to speak?
Great point.
Yes. Just so happens I got a call from Britton Forbes on the porta potty for the Hampton Beach Lighthouse Society, and apparently they didn't get the grant for him yet. And so anyway, I was just hoping if it's not too late to get approved.
Nancy?
I will reach out to Breton. I know his contact information, and I will make sure that I help him with an application. So you guys have approved today $215,033, and you still have, I don't have that on my spreadsheet, but I believe enough money to cover porta potties if you guys approve it at a later date. So I have 3 applications in the works right now, and I'll get a hold of Breton this afternoon and make sure he gets an application.
Excellent. Thank you.
John? Just one more point. I think we should let the organizations know that they have to respect the SOE, and that if there is a porta potty in their plans, they may not be able to use it unless they have a plan in place, unless that's been approved. Because a lot of public washrooms are not in use right now. And if you're inviting people to go someplace, I want to keep that in mind, that we should be something in our letters that everything has to be done in accordance with the state of an emergency if one exists. And if there are any further orders on social distancing or practices around public washrooms, they have to be adhered to. Okay?
Yes, I'll make
Because of
sure
the-
I communicate
Yeah.
that to them when I send them the application.
All right. I see another puppy in the on screen. You're always welcome. All right.
Johnny.
This puppy needs a quick pee. Can we have 5?
Sure, absolutely. I'm not going to deny your dog's bladder. Go ahead.
I think
Let's
I'll
take a moment or two.
myself. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nancy. We do have one further
Thanks, Nancy.
one further item on our agenda to be discussed, but we can pause our recording for last item. Thank you very much. All right, folks. So the last item on our agenda is a discussion about when the municipality might want to reopen its transit. If you've been following the numbers like I have, it almost becomes an addiction. It's the first thing that I look at every morning when I wake up, is to see what the numbers are tracking. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been averaging for about every 1,000 new cases that happen in Canada, only about 40 cases happen outside of Ontario and Quebec. So it seems that we've managed to evade a fairly significant chunk of the first wave. And if you've been watching the province's numbers as well, our numbers haven't changed in Western Nova Scotia appreciably for a number of weeks. Digby County has continued to operate their transit service, and it doesn't seem to have caused an increase in cases that are taking place in their municipality. And the questions arising, when will we restore that service and make it available to people who need to use it for some essential purposes? Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, I was just wondering if they have the fiberglass shields in the bus and whether certain seats are marked off yet.
I believe that's all in place. Yeah.
It's all in place?
Yes.
Well, I would say anytime.
Deputy Warden and then Councillor Scheer.
So have we heard anything as Kings Transit started up in the East End yet, in the Kings County? Are they any talks about opening theirs?
I'm not sure. I haven't had that discussion. with them.
Diane knows.
Diane?
There's not been any discussions. There are now on the table because people are asking what is going on and how long are they going to have to wait. They want to definitely have it rolled out by fall. These particular people that are asking, it's a group of people. But I have a meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow. So I'll know specifically more on what is on their mind and what at this time they're not running. Everything is still shut down.
So our councillors of the opinion that we should wait and coordinate our reopening with King's Transit, or should we simply reopen our own portion of the route for the benefit of the residents who need to use that service? Councillor Henry.
Yeah, I would think we'd need to coordinate that. The other thing that I don't quite see is, if there's a flattening of the curve, we know that. The province supplies it with no data. If we open this up, how are we going to know, if there's a spike in Annapolis County? They may be able to tell us those numbers. But do we have a policy to decide if we decide to close it back down? At what point do we close back down?
We don't have a policy. I've got a couple of suspicions. I suspect that if we open it right now, we're not going to see a spike immediately because there's not enough active cases in the community. In our case, again, our number of cases in this area of Nova Scotia haven't changed in the last 2 weeks. So, and I imagine that the people who have been affected are all in the course of being treated. That said, we should anticipate a second wave at some point. And when that comes, we need to be very, very vigilant to catch the first edge of it and make sure that we immediately stop the service once again while people are at risk. But I think there's probably going to be a space of time between where we are now and that next wave is going to hit. And the question is at what point does the benefit of protecting residents from the threat that currently isn't as vivid as we were fearing it might be here in the region, get overbalanced by the necessity of allowing people to get their groceries and get to medical appointments without needing to resort to the service of Trans-Canada Transportation, that sort of service. Does that answer your question, Councillor Henry?
It does. I just want to make sure that there's some sort of thinking in place that we can rescind this if we move forward. And I'm anxious to get the service open as soon as possible. There seems to me we need to have some sort of thinking in place that when do we review this? Yeah, I just don't like it open-ended, and that there needs to be some sort of stopgap where we come together, reevaluate if there's an increase of so much.
I think if we put the service back up, I think that what we need to do is task somebody with monitoring cases in the area, and if we're seeing an escalation of cases in the province and or directly here, we need to be prepared to pull the service right away. I'm going to go to John, and then I've got Councillor Sheridan and Councillor Fowler.
Everything the county does is dependent upon the state of emergency declaration that they have to renew every 2 weeks. We can't, we were given the choice of whether or not we would operate under the state of an emergency. We didn't have to operate bus services, even though it is an essential service, and we opted not to. Now, with that said, going forward, the SOE is not lifted. But if the SOE is lifted, then we would be in a position where the services would have to be required. But we're not sure exactly what King's Transit will do. I think they will still require the social distancing, and all the protective measures still must be in place. I think we have to wait until we hear the province's confirmation of whether they extend it or not, the state of an emergency, and what's the supplemental information being provided on these services. And if they relax, then we have to have a discussion with King's Transit and how we get it open and how we get it running. And I think we really have to wait for that declaration.
Okay.
But be ready to go.
Are you certain of that, John, though? Because we had the discretion of public transit has been declared an essential service. We were given particular discretion by the minister to not provide that service in our municipalities. But that surely means that at any point we could also reconsider that decision. So we don't need to wait for the province to cancel. The moment the province cancels the state of emergency, we'd be required to reinstitute the service. But we could, at our own discretion, reinstitute the service before that point, couldn't we?
Yes, because
you can do it now, but I guess why I'm saying we should wait for the province to weigh in on this. They'll know what the relaxation needs to be. So they may issue another state of emergency and describe to the extent that you relax on certain of the requirements, and what are the requirements in those relaxation methods. Okay, we don't know what they are. So we could say we could ramp up and offer the service next week without any change in the SOE, but I think we should wait. That's all. I think right now that's due June 1st. We'll get more information that will tell us what we can do next.
Okay. All right. So Councillor Sheridan.
I agree with John. I was checking the cases today, and they have 2 new cases that are travel related. And to put people on buses and put them in another zone, because one bus will lead to another community, I feel that we should wait to see what the province is going to do first. Just see, and tomorrow could be a different story. There could be more cases. We don't know yet, but I'd like to wait to see what the province has to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fowler?
Yeah, I also don't think we should make our decision today. I think that we should wait and see how Diane makes out at the meeting, and maybe we'll find out what the province thinks too.
Yeah. And Diane, if you could convey to King's Transit when you're at the meeting tomorrow that we are starting to, that this is a topic that's come up for conversation among our council again, it's something we're starting to consider. Councillor LeBlanc, then I've got Councillor McDonald, then I've got Councillor Gunn.
well, as far as the travel related COVID, is that in our region?
It was in the central region, but what I'm saying is if the buses reopen, one bus goes to the next community, then the next community. I mean, Wolfville they've had cases up that way. You just don't, I'd rather wait to see what the province is, but today it just come out, it was in the central zone,
Right.
with two
So
travel related.
what I'm aiming at is the fact that realistically, if we opened ours and Kingston doesn't, it's up to us if we open it or not.
Right, right.
Digby has opened theirs. They've never stopped. They kept going. And I know that most of the people that I've heard about asking about the bus transit appears to be down the West End. Now, Alex, Mr. Councillor Morrison will be able to probably give more from that because he would have been the councillor down there, but I've received some of those messages. We could specifically, we do not have to, because of the state of emergency, not run the bus. It is up to council. It's a good thing. And, you know, as far as that goes, we are protecting everybody. But at the same time, we don't have to wait for Kings County. We can start before they do. And they're the ones that are closer to Wolfville and up the line. Having said that, as I said, I will report to you as soon as I know what's going on tomorrow.
Thank you
very much. Councillor McDonald?
Thanks. So a couple months ago when we voted to, when the majority voted to cut the service, maybe in one, when you watch the news networks, the sky was falling, right? That was early mid-March, and nobody was really sure how we're going to deal with this, how severe it's going to be, and we still aren't 100% sure. But I do believe we've learned what's needed to protect each other somewhat better than we did know 2 months ago. And I'm glad we're having this conversation, and I would like to give direction to King's Transit to think about preparing to open. We don't have to open today or this week, right? We can wait and make sure the numbers are okay, as Councillor Sheridan and maybe others state. But I think we're getting much closer to that opening, and I think there's a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but there are people that need that service and would like to see it open. But they also want us to be responsible, or we'd be seeing protests, right? They want us to be responsible, and yet I think we're better prepared now to protect our staff on the bus, to protect the staff that maintains the bus. Remember when we first had the vote, within 3 days in HRM, 2 drivers got sick. Okay, now that hasn't happened since. They had to learn how to deal with it. And they've done a much better job because those numbers aren't there anymore, right? Nobody else is getting sick that I'm aware of, staff in HRM or Cape Breton, where it was mandatory to run the bus. And I think we can draw, or the manager of King's Transit can draw on that experience with his peers and soon, hopefully, run a safe King's Transit in Annapolis County. That's where I'd like to head, and I'd like that conversation to go to, I forget his name, but.
That is on the topic of conversation tomorrow, Mr. McDonald.
We have, the CAO has dropped a link, but we do have the deputy CAO in the house.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Don.
And I believe, Don, were you wanting to comment? And then Councillor Gunn's online for the next comment.
Just thought that it may also be information that is part of this discussion, that in addition to 2 new cases that are travel related, there is a death today that's not related to a care facility. It's a member of the general public. So EMO is going to be watching very closely what transpires and unfolds over the next couple of days. I believe that may be a factor in whether the state of emergency is expanded.
Thank you.
So I think that
I was waiting there.
That's right. Sorry.
So, you know, listen, I know folks that can't go back to work because the bus isn't running. You know, it's just as plain and simple as that. I think the bus should go back on to come the first of the month. That's my opinion. I don't think we're doing anybody any great favors by keeping that bus off. I wanted to go to Granville last week. My truck, you know, I've been rebuilding my truck. So the van, the engine in my old van. But I wanted to go to Granville, and I said, I'm going to run down, jump on the bus. There ain't no bus going by. You know, and I'm not the only person that's this way around. There's a lot of people that actually, and as Councillor Morrison was so wise to point out to me, you know, months ago, it's not just the port. There's a lot of people, as you find out, when the bus isn't running, that depend on that bus.
Absolutely.
And separation, the buses can be cleaned. I think we need to get those buses up and running because you know what? The country's got to go back to work at some point and we better be ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that Councillor Morrison.
And Deputy Warden has something to say too.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even see that she had her hand up. Thank you. Councillor Morrison first, and the Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I'd like the bus running today, but I'm willing to wait to hear the results of Councillor LeBlanc's meeting tomorrow. And if, in the opinion of the warden and the CAO, that information is such that causes us to consider taking a decision, I'd like us to have the meeting necessary to implement that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Deputy Warden.
And I agree, we should wait until after Diana's meeting tomorrow and to see what the province has to say and continue from there.
All right. And well, Diane, perhaps normally we'd ask you, normally you submit your reports from these meetings at the next committee of the whole meeting. Would you mind perhaps circulating just a quick paragraph to councillors and the clerk and our CAO after your meeting tomorrow, just to let us know where King's Transit's thinking is on this matter?
Perfect. Yes.
Thank you very much. And Councillor McDonald, go ahead.
If there's a chance too that the next time we meet like this, maybe we could. What's that GM's name?
Glenn Bannon.
Yes.
Bannon.
Bannon.
Maybe he could join us, right? And give us, so we could look in his eye and see how he really feels. If he really feels it's okay, I'm prepared to protect all the staff and the passengers. Maybe he should be here to tell us as well.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. Well, if the information that comes back from Councillor LeBlanc indicates that it's possible that a decision could be made in the near future, we'll convene a meeting as soon as necessary, and we can certainly attempt to have Mr. Bannon join us. All right, that's it for today. I think, folks, thank you all very much. I really appreciate all of your work, and I will declare the meeting adjourned. Have a great day.